This is the SML podcast.
Yeah, I said, I'm going to be talking, please bring me water. So they bring me the whole pitcher, which is great.
Wow.
Mel, I feel like you should just, like, it's launch week. You just need to get an IV. Like, forget bottles of water. Just inject it into your body and just stay alive, you know?
What's up, everyone? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. This is episode 299. We are just about at the magical number, and we've got a stacked show today. We have tons of reviews coming up. We have a fantastic interview with Mel Kirk of Zen Studios. I'm going to have a little guest joining that as well by the name of Grant Henry, who we all know and love on the show. And
Stemage.
Yes, Stemage is on the show. And as you can tell, I have someone joining me right now. Tom Miller, you get to kick off the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. You know, it's a lovely day here in the Pacific Northwest. I've been outside playing some Pokemon Go, trying to get legendaries. Yeah, doing the Pokemans. Still,
were you at Go Fest?
I was not. I really only know just one person who did go. I'm in Seattle and it was in Chicago, so it's like really far. But she actually like drove like halfway across the country to go to this thing, and it was just a clusterfuck. And I don't know.
Oh my god,
she was like heartbroken. But I don't know. It'll be an interesting story for her grandkids someday, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that sucks so bad. She drove from Seattle to Chicago.
Yeah.
And you didn't go with her? You had a fucking ride, man. What's your problem?
Yeah, I know. I don't regret it. I mean, all the good stuff.
I'm sure she does.
Here, so, oh yeah, I'm sure.
Oh my god, that is horrible. I've heard like nothing went right at that thing.
Oh yeah, no, like the CEO of the company came out and like got booed off the stage at one point. And, they actually wound up because nobody could connect. It's because the game is so unstable when you're in large groups of people. So they had like 20,000 people there, and it's just like, how are you even? How does this sound like it could even remotely work? But
I actually heard that people on Sprint and T-Mobile could actually play the game fairly well because because there's so few Sprint and T-Mobile customers that their cell towers weren't all fucked up and congested.
Well, I'm on Sprint, so that'll be payback for me because I usually can't get reception anywhere. So,
yeah.
Sorry, I hope you're not sponsored by Sprint here. It's
oh god, I wish we were sponsored. If Sprint wants to pay us money to talk about them on the show, I will gladly take their money. And fuck, I'd even switch away from Verizon. If you're gonna pay me to switch from someone, bring on the money. Let's do it. I've been a Verizon member, I guess. I don't know what you call it. I've been part of Verizon since early 2000s. I'm trying to think how far back it was. I want to say like 2002 or something.
Wow.
Oh my god, I'm old. My Verizon account can almost drive. Oh man, but yeah, that sucks for everyone who went to Go Fest.
Yeah,
I don't know. Clusterfuck.
Yeah. Apparently some people had a good time, so.
Yeah, like 12.
Yeah, right.
Out of 20,000 people. I heard at one point the line to leave the thing was longer than the line to get in.
Yeah, apparently there was like a 20-minute line just to leave the festival. And I mean, it was such a mess. They just I was just seeing pictures from people in Chicago, and they were like just people as far as the eye can see trying to get in, and I don't know.
Hi, so, I wanna leave this horrible thing. Nope, you're stuck. You're waiting. Get in line.
You're screwed. You're here for the long haul, buddy.
Suck it, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is crazy. But we have a lot to take care of on the episode today. And you were here to talk about two different games for us, so let's kick things off today with Yonder, the Cloud Catcher Chronicles, developed and published by Prideful Sloth, released July 18th on PS4 and Steam for $19.99. Gemia? What's the name? Do you know?
Gemia, I'm pretty sure.
Gemia, all right. Gemia maintains the appearance of a paradise, yet an evil murk has enshrouded the land and its people in despair. As the hero of Yonder, you will explore and uncover the island's secrets and mysteries. Yeah, I can't talk. It's one of those days. And mysteries within yourself. So, Tom, what kind of mysteries did you uncover within yourself?
Oh, so many mysteries. So first off, I love this game, and it's one of those. It's pretty much a straight exploration game. It has a lot of stuff going on, but I think it does a lot of it really, really well. It's incredibly charming. It's really relaxing, and it takes the form of like an open world, almost Zelda type game. Where you can go around, talk to townspeople, and get quests, and then it actually has like a little bit of farming stuff you can do, and you're trying to find all these different sprites that let you slowly heal the world. It's been taken over by the Merc, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's just like for somebody who often deals with anxiety, like this is kind of the perfect type of game for me. In the same way that like Harvest Moon or something would be. It's just like it's so methodical and just kind of peaceful. It has really beautiful music and it's really nice to look at. So yeah, I guess you could say I enjoy it.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. And let's see what else. So you just kind of you wander yonder. I'm sorry. I promise not to. Okay. I'll be here all week. Yeah. You just you kind of wander around and. I don't know. It has a lot of trading in it. It is a really sort of simple game in how it performs. But like to me,
what kind of game is it? Like action RPG, action adventure?
So there's not really any combat, at least not from what I played. I guess there might be like right up at the end or something, but it's pretty much just wandering and talking. You got the exploration going on. You got a bunch of quests that you can do that you get from people. And you got a little bit of the farming. It's kind of, I'd just say it's like an open world adventure game if I had to put a label on it in that way.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and you, I don't know, like it just has this beautiful, really big world that you can go around and just kind of hang out in,
I think one of the comparisons I saw online is it's like a mix of Zelda and Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I read that too, and I haven't actually played Stardew Valley. I guess I need to.
Chop.
But yeah, I know because I've just been talking about how I love this kind of game, and I know Stardew Valley is kind of similar. But let me see. What else? It's just a really charming and relaxing game. It's really all there is to say. I'd recommend it to anybody who is into open world stuff or who just wants a laid back and really pretty game to just kind of hang out with.
Nice.
It's not really a fast. It's pretty slow, but. Yeah, if you just want a laid back experience, then I would say absolutely it'd be worth playing for you.
It sounds like a really good palate cleanser type of game.
Oh, totally, yeah. And especially like last time I was on here, I did Aftergrinder, which is just balls to the wall the entire time. So like, it was nice to have like a little bit of peacefulness.
Yeah, that's crazy to go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, for $20, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's worth it. And again, especially if you're looking for a more a more laid back time. Like if you're looking for an action game, I wouldn't go here because there is very little of it. But I love it. Just it's really a joy to wander around the world. I've said the word wander so many times in this review. To explore the world, and even though at sometimes it does feel a little bit empty to me, it still is just such an enjoyable experience. So yeah, I'd say it's worth it.
Sounds good. And for the collectors out there, it looks like Signature Edition and Merge Games have put out a physical special edition of the game on the Signature Edition website for 30 British pounds. I don't know what that translates to us Americans, but it includes the region-free copy of the game, clearly, an art book, stickers, special edition box, and like a special coin as well, which is pretty neat. And it is still in stock as when I'm saying this. So if you are interested in the physical Signature Edition, do it up. Sounds good. I am excited about that one. I'm planning on picking that one up myself. So
cool.
Next game to talk about, we're going to give you a little bit of a break for a second, is called Lost Grimoires, Stolen Kingdom, developed by World-Loom Games, published by our friends at Artifex Monday. It released July 25th, so it should be out by the time you're hearing this on PlayStation 4 for $9.99, previously available on the Xbox One. In order to protect both the kingdom and her parents, the young apprentice will have to use magical powers of alchemy in order to... God, I'm losing my place in line. I think my eyes are starting to go.
Oh, no.
Use the power of alchemy to help discover the truth of the past. It is only her perseverance and quick wits that will determine whether she can unearth all of the dark secrets. With her alchemy skill, she is the only thing capable of healing the kingdom consumed by depravity and corruption. We had our friend Greg Middleton write in his review of this one, so I will read that now. He says, this is a simple observation game that will have you follow the clues, find evidence, and solve a lot of puzzles. Like many other titles of the genre, you will have to look through clutter and find objects of all kinds. Now, I've played a few of the Artifex Mundi titles and consider this to be a good game. However, there are some issues that I found while playing. Sadly, the voice acting leaves a lot to be desired, and the story itself didn't stand out as much as I'd hoped for. The art and presentation is very good with vibrant colors and beautiful scenery. The puzzles are impressive and the animation's working well. With the aesthetic, also make sure you keep an eye out for the hidden kestrel symbols along the way. If you're into them shiny trophies, or another playthrough will be required. During the game, you must mix potions in the alchemy minigames, which I found to be a nice added touch not present in previous Artifex games. You find a recipe, get the ingredients, and then transmute them by aligning colored orbs based on a pattern you're given. I did feel Lost Grimoires was a little short and easy. I finished the main game in around 3 hours and was ready to dive into the bonus chapter, but unfortunately this game did not have one. Which, for the people who don't know the Artifex games, they're all fairly similar in like the hidden object puzzle games, and most of them have some kind of bonus chapter at the end, but I guess with this one being developed by someone else and just being published by Artifex Monday, it didn't have that kind of bonus chapter little goodie there to it to help extend the game. He says, overall, Lost Grimoires Stolen Kingdom is a good game with nice graphics, good puzzles, and a new gameplay element of making the potions. There are issues I had with the game, as I mentioned earlier, but I still do think it's fun to play. At the time of testing and reviewing this game, there was no price on the PS4 version, but I would assume based on the pricing of the Xbox version, it'll be around $9.99, which is correct. And I feel this game will be a try it recommendation. This is due to the nature of the title, and that gamers should be aware of what type of game this is before purchase. Add to the fact that there are better puzzle adventure games available on the market right now around the same price. However, if it ever goes on sale later, I feel it's a worthy purchase given the length. I can agree. I think it was definitely one of the lesser games the Artifex has put out, mainly because they didn't make it. So, yeah, I really enjoyed all the Artifex games, but it seems like the actual Artifex developed ones seem to perform better than just the ones that they're publishing. Have you tried any of those out?
No, I never have.
Were you
Sorry,
taking
I had
a
myself
nap?
on mute for a second. I was not. I was taking a mute.
I was waiting for you to like say something there when I was trying to make conversation. It's like you do reviews and I'm asking questions and I do something and you're just mute. Fuck this guy.
Oh man, sorry about that.
But yeah, overall solid game. I do think it's one of the lesser titles Artifex put out. But I don't know, I still enjoy it. I think if you're a fan of the genre, all of them are worth picking up. So,
well, I'll definitely check those out. It sounds like a good time.
You should. If you enjoyed Yonder, which is more of like a more relaxing experience, I think that's what the Artifex games are. They're good. Like they're never going to be a 20-hour epic, but they're a solid day or two of just relaxation, puzzles, and pretty good stories too.
Cool.
And then the final game that you're here to talk about today is called Suicide Guy, developed by Fabio Ferrara, published by Chubby Pixel, which I love the name of that publisher.
Yeah, for sure.
Released July 14th on Steam for $4.99. Suicide Guy is set in the incredible and extraordinary dreams of its protagonist. What would you do in order to save the thing you love most? Immerse yourself into his weird dreams and help him wake up before it's too late. Tom, what the hell is Suicide Guy?
This is a weird game. So the thing that he loves most is beer, which I can identify with. But so like you're like this guy, and he falls asleep while he's drinking, and he almost drops his beer. And your mission in the game is to kill yourself in your dreams so that you're able to wake up and catch it, which is like one of the weirdest premises for a game I have ever seen, and I kind of love it. It's really interesting, and it's kind of a cool subversion of the, of 3D platformers, of games in general, because usually you're trying to stay alive, and this one you're trying to figure out ways to die. But so I love that, and it's a really clever concept, and actually some of the levels are really interesting and funny. There's one, well, if you watch the trailer, it unfortunately spoils some of the stuff that I like the most about it. But there is I don't know, they have levels that are references to a bunch of other games like Portal, and there's a Mario level, there's my roommate is cursing loudly at Final Fantasy XIV in the other room. I don't know if that picked up on my mic.
A little bit. I didn't get to hear what he said, though.
Okay. So it's a really interesting, clever idea, and it's the kind of thing that you'd really only get in an indie game. I don't think many AAA developers would have, an idea like this and actually pull it off. And so I really do. I respect that a lot. And the music is really good. The fact that this is mostly, it's a really small development team. Most of the design was just done by one guy, and there are people who helped out with the graphics and music and stuff. But I don't know. It's really cool that just to see really tiny studios be able to make a full game. And like some of the ideas, you have like this almost like Lovecraftian meets Moby Dick kind of like giant, just massive whale that you have to like attract toward you with a spotlight, and so you're like in a lighthouse and you have to turn it around, and every time you shine it into its eye, it gets closer, and then it just pops up right next to you, and then you have to get it to eat you. So like the situations are just bizarre, and some of them are really fun. Some of them I didn't like quite as much, but and I guess that's kind of one of the main things that I would complain about with the game, is that even though there are some really cool ideas, it does seem a little bit bloated, and some levels go on maybe a little bit longer than they need to. So if I would totally play a sequel to this if it came out, but that would be kind of one of the main things. The other thing is that it's kind of buggy. I at one point got out of bounds just by jumping once, and that was not the greatest. It's in the Mario level, by the way, if you're listening to this, about halfway in. But yeah, and there's some like pop in with which in a game like this where it does have pretty simple graphics, that was a little jarring to see. And there are a ton of jumping puzzles, which is something that I'm not a huge fan of in like a first-person game, but it's something that once you get used to it.
Yeah, first-person platforming is rough to pull off really well.
Yeah, definitely. So, that was, that was kind of the issue that I had, the main one. But yeah, it's got good music and sound. The sounds are really funny, some of them, and this guy, just like everything about him, I don't know, he's just like this cartoony, like kind of slob guy, and again, like I kind of identify with that, and so he's making his way through these worlds, and he's just like, it's just like not quite like the Tim Allen thing, but yeah, I don't know, everything just has a really cool cartoony vibe to it, and even though it wasn't totally my thing, like the first person platforming and stuff, it's not my favorite, but I still did enjoy my time with it. I will say the title of the game is unfortunate, and I feel like it's
especially with the recent events with Chester Bennington
and Chris Cornell, and that's still kind of on my mind.
No, I personally had kind of a rough weekend with all that, since I listen to a lot of Linkin Park. Yes, I'm one of those kids, people.
Oh, I know so many people who were just devastated.
I don't know if this was on the Steam page before what happened last week, or if it's a new edition, but he does mention on the Steam page, despite the title, this is not at all a game about suicide or depression.
Yeah.
It seems like it's more about dreams and trying to wake up from those dreams. So it's not a game, like, it's not trying to make light of what the title is.
No, not at all. It's just I feel like some people might skip it because of that, which is unfortunate. Yeah, so I mean that just about wraps up what my impressions of that were. Generally speaking, it's good. It's a little bit uneven, and it has some sections that were a little bit frustrating just because of the controls and stuff like that. But for $5, I definitely think if you're into this type of game, if you're into like puzzle games with a weird concept, I think it's worth a try for sure.
Okay, so that brings to the other question I have is $5 is kind of like that magical price range where we bring in our fourth review option, which is the fuck it, why not?
Yeah, the fuck it, why not? I think I can...
Is this cheap enough to be a fuck it, why not?
I think so, yeah. I would... that was an option that I was not aware was a thing, but yes.
I thought I told you about the fuck it, why nots before.
Okay.
I thought I did. But yeah, basically the fuck it, why not is something that would normally get a try it rating, but it's so cheap that, fuck it, it's only $5. Just buy the game.
Yeah. And, if $5 isn't enough, I'm sure it'll be on sale at some point, and then it'll be even more of a fuck it, why not?
It's Steam. It's going to be like $0.25 in a year.
Yeah, it's going to be
how it is. If a game comes out and you don't have the money for it, wait 1 year. Within that year, it will be ungodly cheap.
You will have your chance. Yes.
It doesn't matter what the developers want to do in life. Their game will be cheap.
Oh man, the struggle is real.
Steam is. It just happens.
I'm on the other side of that sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it looks cool though. I don't know if they have any kind of console plans for it, but I would like to see it jump to some other platforms as well.
Yeah. Maybe
not first person jump, but Anyway, Tom, thanks so much for covering those two games for us. Any final thoughts to sum everything up?
Well, not really. I hope you all have a good day, though. Yeah, or night, or whenever. Just try to be happy and stuff.
Indeed, it's all about staying happy, staying positive. It's you've only got one life. Make the most of it.
Yeah.
All right, next game to talk about is called Super Cloudbuilt, developed by Coilworks, published by Double Eleven, released July 25th on PS4 and Steam. It's coming July 28th on Xbox One for $19.99, so it should be out by the time you're listening to this. Except for Xbox, it'll be out on Friday. Take on the role of Demi, a young soldier who wakes up in the empty shell of a ruined building in the center of a strange new world, disconnected from her old life and physical body. With each new challenge she overcomes, Demi slowly pieces together the future now laid out before her. We got our friend Pernell on this one. Pernell, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty solid, man. It's a nice Sunday evening. We got some good rain to kill that damn humidity. I hate humidity. Sun sucks. For the most part, just been an overall relaxing weekend, and I'm coasting. I'm hoping it's going to coast me into next week. The board game addiction's still going strong. Too many games, no one's playing them.
Oh God! So tell me about Super Cloudbuilt. What is this game?
So Super Cloudbuilt is a 3D. I just would call it action platformer. As you mentioned, you star a character named Demi. She starts in this complex, and then you're just kind of running around. And the game has you following a blue light, which is kind of teaching you, push this button to jump. You can hug walls, and it's teaching you various maneuvers that you can do. So initially, you can just run, you can jump, you can kind of slightly do wall runs, and that's pretty much all you can do to start. But then pretty quickly on, you gain access to a gun, which allows you a default trigger action and then like a secondary gun action. So you get a pea shooter, hold the button on a charge shot, and then the other trigger button allows you to fire like a grenade. This is after you acquire all the parts to the gun, so it kind of guides you into it. And then you also acquire a jetpack. The jetpack allows you to do multiple burst jumps. It allows you to do a rocket dash, and that's pretty. It allows you
jumps. Is that why you keep wanting to call the game Super Cloud Burst?
Yes, correct. See, I don't know why it's called Cloud Built. Is it referring to the fact that there's structures in the sky? Assuming that it is the sky.
Possibly.
I don't know what it is, because the game implies that the entire thing is taking place inside of her head. So, and if that's the case, where the hell are you? It's not the sky. There are no clouds. It's just weird, freaky shit. And lights way off in the distance that you can't even access, which is an interesting concept in and of itself, because it makes you keep thinking that there's some way to get to X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it's just, at least I don't think, there's just no way to do it. You got to stare at it and wish. I wish that was a platform I could access for whatever reason. This game, it's hard to say how I feel about it. The reason being is because I was enjoying the game. I put a couple of good solid hours into this game. However, it's one thing to say, oh, how many hours you play? A couple hours. How far did you get? A place? Because I died a lot, and I repeated a number of levels multiple times. So, to give you a perspective on this. So, each level has collectibles on it. You can get a specific life key, which if you take it to the end of the stage, you can unlock a locker that lets you get an extra life total, an extra life added to your max total that you can take into a stage. There are 4 alphabet keys. If you get all 4 of those keys and get to the end of the stage, you're supposed to be able to unlock a locker, which gives you a random item. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a game glitch or if I was just doing something wrong, I repeated the second stage 4 times. Each time getting every key. And I would get to the end, the game would say only 2 of the 4 keys you are acquired. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm sitting on 4 keys. The inventory says 4 friggin' keys. I can see the letters, but it was like, nope, don't have them. So I couldn't open the locker. So I have no clue what's in any of those lockers.
I mean, it is very possible that might be some kind of pre-release glitch that might happen in a day 1 patch. Because again, this we're recording this on Sunday, and the game releases on Tuesday / Friday for Xbox. So it's very possible that this is just something that's already been addressed with the game out now.
Awesome. Well, let's just say that if you guys are listening, developers, and by some chance this has not been addressed, please address it. But if you have addressed it, thank you so much. Because it's one of those things you just want to work. Because you want to see what's in these treasure chests.
That's the beauty of doing some of these reviews pre-release, is there's always a chance that something that we ran into is already fixed.
And that would be beautiful. That means that we suffer so you don't have to, listeners. Love it. But the game itself, even aside from that, is freaky challenging. Like the momentum on the character, even when you're not dashing, she's moving pretty fast. And the platforms themselves tend to start to become pretty narrow and small. So even from the very first level, this game demands precision. It demands, well-timed bursts with the jetpack so you don't overshoot your power meter and then run out mid-jump or mid-dash or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy game. And if you go into this game, prepare to be frustrated. Not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, mind you, because the game is generous with lives. You start each level with at least 6. If you get more, life upgrades, you'll start with more. I got up to like 13 or so.
Oh, wow.
And every time you hit a checkpoint, the game refreshes you to 6. So let's say you're about to die, you're on your last life, and you come across a checkpoint, boom, you're now back up to 6. And in addition to that, one of the pickups in the game is manual checkpoints. So you can find a checkpoint flag and then put it down wherever the heck you want. If you get past a section that you thought was really hard and there's no checkpoint in sight to let you give a breather, put down your own checkpoint, and now you don't have to do that part anymore.
That's
and
really
you'll get
cool.
Your 6 life boost. Oh, I love it, and this game needs it because it ain't messing around. But yeah, you carry up to 3 checkpoints at a time, so they pretty much encourage you to use the checkpoints too. But to give you an idea of how hard this game is or how hard it will become, the tutorial says that each level is defined by a numeric difficulty ranging from 0 to 10. I got up to difficulty rooms of 3, and it was already messing me up. Like I was running out of 12, 13 live sets after using checkpoints, auto and manual checkpoints to their fullest. I was still dying. It was messing around. And then you start unlocking challenges. And the main challenge I was trying to do was they give you pacifist challenges. So you get the whole stage again without firing a single shot. And the game doesn't even allow you to do it. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, lots of games do pacifist challenges. There's a lot of people that just do them for fun in games. This shouldn't be too hard. But you'd be wrong. You'd be so damn wrong. The very first pacifist challenge, the game explains hey, we don't let you use your gun, so you got to be creative with how you get around the map. And it's just like a narrow corridor, and there's like a bunch of there's like a wall of turrets, and you have to figure out your way to get around them. So it tells you to pretty much, hey, run around that outer wall and then dash onto the platform behind them. Okay, easy peasy. Then it dumps you to the very first stage of the game and says, good luck. Now, the game on the very first level has a moment where it's like, hey, use this button to fire your secondary weapon, and you need to do it to make a wall go away so you can proceed through the stage. But now you don't have a gun, so you can't make the wall go down. So it's like, how the hell do I get around this thing? You're looking around, and the game is just the world is so vast that you're just staring and hoping you can come across something that catches your eye to travel. I just started running up the wall, hugging like lips on the side, run up the wall. I'm not sure that's what they meant for you to do, but it worked, and I figured it out. But then I went further to level, and there was another moment like that where it was like, okay, shoot these walls to make them disappear, and then jump through them before they come back. But again, I have no gun. There was no outer platforms or anything. So I had to run up this really narrow column, then dash and land on a column piece about the size of like one footstep that the character can make, and do it 3 more times.
Oh,
You
man.
have no idea how hard that is to do, given how finicky the controls are. So it's one of the things where it's like, I'm not sure if I was just doing something wrong or if that's what they actually intended for you to do. But what I do know is this game is hard as shit.
I gotta say, looking at like screenshots and videos, everything, this is a beautiful game.
It's exquisite. Like that very first stage, like before, even after the frustration kicked in, it still looked good. But before the frustration kicked in, when you're running around the initial complex, it is a gorgeous game. Like I'm sure you've played games like kind of like how Super Meat Boy. Have you played Super Meat Boy? Mm-hmm. Of course. If you hadn't, I'd be so sad.
Bitch, please.
Super Meat Boy is a really hard game, but as you control the character in that game, it feels so good. Like every motion you do feels wonderful, to the point where it's like even when you die, it doesn't even bother you very much because you're like, it was my fault. I'll figure this out. That initial complex has that exact feel to me. It feels very fluid. It's enjoyable to platform around the complex. Everything is just gold. But then the moment the game becomes real, you're still trying to tap into that initial feeling, but everything's fucking you over. It's brutal. It's like, come on, let me feel good again. I want that high to come back. And the game's like, nope, you can just die right here. You can die right here. But it is genuinely fun. Like, I can't deny that the game is fun, nor would I attempt to do so. But the reason why I'm placing emphasis on all the challenges that I face in the game is because I'm sure you know the type. The type where you'll tell them to play a game because you think it's good, but you forget to tell them that you're also a glutton for punishment and you can handle the numerous deaths that you undertake, so that it's not a big deal to you. But then they come back to you 2 days later, like, what the hell did you give me that terrible game for? I just keep dying all the damn time. I'm like, well, that's the game. That's how it works. You just got to deal with the challenge and roll with it. Well, you're an asshole. Like, well, fine. Believe you what you want. But I have to clarify that this game is not a walk in the park, and you are going to work for those wins. Every level you beat, you worked for it. Like, there are items you can earn to, like, change the properties of your gun, for example. But I was getting my butt handed to me so much, I earned like the only 2.
Wow.
I can't even sit here and tell you in extreme detail what the items are because I suck too much to get. Like, hey, buddy, what are you doing over there? Just being lame. You know me. But
so sucking aside, for $20, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think they give you a pretty meaty package, and it's a wonderful game. Like, some people might claim that it's lazy because it's a bunch of floating platforms and no like major backgrounds and stuff. But I would disagree with that. I feel as though the game is designed that way because it's putting all the resources into the level designs themselves. And they do a lot of work with the level designs.
It is stylish as hell.
Yes, it is. It's really cool. I like the game a lot. I think it's worth $20 easily. It's just you have to go in knowing that you're going to get the crap kicked out of you, but you're going to want to keep trying until you get it right. That's all. But it's not that namby-pamby stuff. And the reason I got reminded of that statement because this is kind of going off tangent, but it makes the point. Somebody that I know recently brought up a game from a ways back called The World Ends With You, which was like a Square Enix game on the Nintendo DS.
Mm-hmm.
To me, The World Ends With You is Square's best game in like 17 years. And it wasn't even developed by them. It was like published by them, but it was developed by one of their in-house studios. So the game does all these cool things with experimentation, and it makes you learn new things because no other game had ever done those things before, which coming out of the House of Square in the 2000s is a surprise as shit. So lo and behold, I got friends who are like, this game is stupid. There's too much going on. I just don't understand it. It's not fun. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you're the reason that Final Fantasy is like the only thing they're pumping out anymore and why they're so bad. It's like they do something different and experimental, and you're like, yeah, I don't like this. This makes me do things that I'm not used to. Like, well, that's the point. Do things new. Get used to that shit. And for perspective, I tried to say, like, when I first got the game, I got the crap kicked out of me too for the same reason. Like, wow, there's a lot going on here. I've never had to do this stuff before. Managing 2 screens at once. But then you play it. You accept that they gave you a game with a specific style in place, and they want you to break through that window. They want you to burst through the wall and say, you know what? Now I'm into this. I can do it because they made me try something that's not familiar to me, and now I get it. Like Super Cloudbuilt has a vibe like that too, where it's like they give you tools, it's hard as shit, but they want you to just persevere because the game lies behind the wall. If you can't get behind the wall, get past the wall, you can just go out and play that other game that they just pretty much hand you the controls, set to the default easy modes, and just enjoy the game. Just walk through it and then buy another one a week later because there's no challenge here. Like, they want you to work. You know? So, and I think that works. I think those two comparisons work extremely well together. Like, just play the game, accept that it's going to kick the crap out of you until you get better and you master the way the game is built.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, I am excited for this one. Again, it should be out by the time you're hearing this episode. So, according to Pernell, you should grab it.
Yes, you should.
Any final words to sum it up?
If you ever listen to this episode, Debs, and you comment in the Twitter or something, please explain to us why the game is called Super Cloudbuilt and not Super Cloud Burst, or, I don't know, Super Rocket Jump, or Super Navy Girl, or Super Costume Quest. Oh yeah, you can unlock costumes color palette costumes based on achievements you pull off in the game. Oh, look, I added some. But yeah, why is the game called Super Cloudbuilt? I want to know. I need to know because it's messing with me. It doesn't feel right.
Moving on, we have a 2-pack of 3DS games to talk about this week, and we're bringing in our good friend Chris Taylor to cover these. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I am doing okay. Just,
Okay.
recording interviews, talking to people, fun shit like that.
Oh, yeah. I hope they're good people.
Yeah, the usual band of misfits.
Not the
But anyway, you are here to talk to us about 2 different 3DS games, and we are going to kick things off with your specialty, a brand new KEMCO RPG called Asdivine Cross, developed by Exe Create, published by KEMCO, released July 13th on the Nintendo 3DS for $9.99. Harvey, a normal name?
Harvey. Yes, his name is Harvey.
Wow, Harvey, an outlaw of little importance, gets himself trapped deep in his kingdom's dungeons. While imprisoned, God damn it! Why can't I talk today?
I don't know, because you got thrown off by Harvey.
Yeah, I'm not used to seeing a normal name in an RPG. It just blows my mind. While imprisoned, he befriends a mysterious woman who claims to be the princess of the lands. Together, the two begin an escape that spans far beyond jail bars. As both friends and enemies begin to surface, Harvey realizes that the world of Asdivine is anything but at peace. Between threats of war and angry deities, Harvey and friends begin a series of quests that will determine the very fate of Asdivine. We previously covered an Asdivine game. Am I to assume that these games are linked?
I don't know, actually. I have Asdivine Hearts in my Steam, but I haven't actually started it up yet. It's one of the... Because it was one that I got, but that wasn't one of the ones I reviewed. However, you are correct that this does take place in the world of Asdivine, so I can only imagine there's some continuity between it and Asdivine Hearts. But can't confirm that because I never played Asdivine Hearts.
And I think there's an Asdivine Hearts 2 as well.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, they didn't really explicitly mention any sort of lore in this game that makes you think, oh, this is connected to something. Like, the story seems pretty self-contained.
Maybe it's just a shared universe kind of deal.
Right, something like the Dragon Quests.
Yeah, so what is Asdivine Cross?
Well, Asdivine Cross, as you mentioned, is the latest in the KEMCO Exe Create barrage of video gaming goodness. Is a 16/32-bit RPG type thing. Of course, the series, I always kind of rattle off the series, but, I think it started with Alphadia. It had to have, right? That came out 5 years ago. But
I don't know the order anymore.
It was Alphadia, Infinite Dunamis, Journey to Crazia, Unlucky Mage. The one I always forget, but it's here somewhere. Antiquia Lost. Antiquia. And, yeah, so this is... Yeah, Mantequilla, Butter Lost. So this one is in that series, very much so. And of course they had Dragon Sinker, which kind of deviated from the path a little bit. But this game is, well, as I said on the Steam review, I said that they're back to doing kind of their old thing, and indeed this game is the next in the 3DS line to break away from Dragon Sinker and get back to their good old-fashioned ways. However, the first thing I noticed about this one is that they have made some very good improvements to basically how... it's hard to say. I'm actually, I'm trying to build a game here and I still don't know the terminology. But essentially the frames, the way that the scrolling works... So a problem I always had with the earlier games, Infinite Dunamis and such, is that as you walk around the world map or around towns or whatever, it's kind of, it has that jerkiness to it, like mobile games usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, they've more or less fixed it. Like it's a smooth game. Like the graphics are the same; they're very nice. But now, like when you're walking around, it's much less wrenching, I suppose, if you try to focus on what you're looking at. So that's really good. I noticed that the writing has improved somewhat. Not a whole lot of not a whole lot of weirdness that, where you're like, I don't even understand what is going on here. However, I will say, and this is something that occasionally comes up in these KEMCO games, so they kind of alternate, and I think I mentioned this in my Antiquia Lost review. They kind of alternate between having like a kind of neutral or pretty alright good guy, and just a real drip of a jerk of a dude at the center of things, and this game falls heavily into the latter category. So our Harvey here is an outlaw and a criminal, but also just kind of a jerk. Like his other criminals are nicer than him, and so like about the first couple of hours of this game, where you're just walking around with Harvey and the princess, they decided to give her a not a complimentary, but I suppose like a kind of conflicting personality to his. She is extremely bubbly and nice and optimistic, and like you can't, like he straight up just calls her like an idiot to her face, and like just insults her and slaps her around verbally, and she's just like, oh, that's all right, we're fine, everything's good,
this is fine, everything's fine.
Yeah, so it's kind of like he's just it makes his like bad personality come off as just kind of like weird. Like I don't understand what this guy's problem is. However, about 10 hours into the game, or however many hours, you eventually come to meet a character that's kind of unique in this whole cavalcade of RPGs, and that is Lucille, who is one of the main characters, and she actually is somehow even worse than the leader. And so they're just constantly getting into fights. And the funny thing is that they gave her a whole different mechanic from everyone else, in that she actually, like, her stats and like her kind of just her growth essentially is enhanced by how much damage she can take without dying. And they decided to put that in the game into her personality by making her a total, like, sexual masochist. So essentially, she gets injured and hurt all throughout this game and then gets off on it.
What the hell?
Yeah. So this game is, like, really, like, I cannot take away any points from KEMCO and Exe Create for originality, because this is the first time I've really seen like a true masochist that has it actually programmed into her mechanics and into her story. So it's like she antagonizes this guy until he straight up decks her, and then that's what she wanted, because that her little catchphrase is, "Oh, that hits the spot."
Oh my
with her.
Lord.
Yeah. So I found that kind of amusing, and I was like, this is actually kind of an interesting way of dealing with a terrible, like, asshole of a main character. Just, like, make everyone, like, kind of feed off of it in a way. So I have to give them props. Their writing is getting so much better.
Nice.
They are still doing the thing with villains, where if a villain is, like, otherworldly, they'll speak in intercaps. That's to say, it'll be alternating small and uppercase letters, which just reminds me of Zanga from, like, 2001. So I'm always like, these villains are teenage bloggers.
So gameplay-wise, any kind of special, unique differences in this one compared to some of the others?
Okay, so gameplay, Lots of similarities with Antiquia Lost, which I had talked about. It brings back the outer point system. They always call it something different, so I'm just calling it that. Like where you occasionally get points. Now, where Antiquia Lost, you got to like play the lottery or purchase items. In this game, they've done away with the lottery, which I was like, well, all right, fine. But they did give you the ability to spend it on other items, and some of those items like are really good. Like it's nothing truly game breaking. I think they've decided to go in a different direction this time, but I'll get to that. You can buy things like stat increasing items and like a warehouse key, which every single town you come across has a warehouse where you have to purchase one of these keys and unlock it, and within is a lot of great seemingly random items. So that's kind of an interesting take on it, rather than just repeating battles until you just save up enough for something that's going to break the rest of the game. This game is not broken. I'm actually still being challenged, and it's just playing it on normal mode. So I'm kind of happy about that. What this game features, and actually the same is true for Antiquia Lost, but I think that this one definitely hits it a little harder, is weapons. What would you call it? I forget what they call it in the game. It's basically a weapon that you get that you don't need. You can actually graft it onto your current weapon and add to that weapon's power. So essentially you can collect all of these weapons and sort of create and improve your weapons throughout the game. And that has gotten really interesting, like, because of course, if you play the way I do, you're gonna like try and get the enemies to drop as many items as possible. So I got the thief, jewel, and the rare item jewel, and like all this other stuff. So the enemies drop, like seriously, some battles I can get enemies to drop 20 items, like battle. Like that's how crazy you can get with this.
That is nuts.
And yeah, so I wind up after each battle with just all these swords that I don't need to sell because I have enough money as it is. So I just add them all to my hero's weapons, and now like I can just wreck house with these items I've had for 12 hours of gameplay or so.
Nice.
And it is pretty cool. Like it does things like you can, in a way, you can sort of fiddle around with customizing the effects of your weapons and all this other stuff. So that got really deep, and I was really appreciative of that.
Cool. So for $10, what are your thoughts on this one?
$10 if you've been waiting on a KEMCO game to go ahead and grab. Like this is a real good one. I would say this is, as far as the regular series goes, this one is their best yet. Now, Journey to Crezia is the one that I felt most attached to the story, but this one's actually really interesting too. But I would call it more of a comedy than a real serious game. But that's kind of good, really. I mean, like I said, Dragon Sinker is still my favorite overall, but it's so different that's just automatically the case. But if you've been collecting KEMCO RPGs and you're like, well, is this one as good as the others? Well, it's better. It's mechanically better. It's, I think, more, it's got more of a hook. And yeah, I mean, for $10, definitely worth it. It's a great RPG.
I do appreciate the fact that we're now at the point where you can have a collection of KEMCO games.
Oh, you so can. They're, and that's the thing. Like I was talking with a friend about this, and I was like, yeah, they release like about one a month, sometimes one every 2 months. And they're like, and they're full games. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, are they good? I was like, yeah, they're all good. Like, how did they do that? I was like, I think they just used the same like backgrounds and stuff, like kind of like RPG Maker, right?
Hey, whatever works, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, each time they're coming out with something that I really want to play, so they're still doing a great job.
Yeah, and then speaking of things you want to play, the next game to talk about, you actually came to me and were like, hey, can I cover this one? And we previously covered it on the Xbox One, but Cursed Castilla is now available on the Nintendo 3DS, developed by Locomalito and Abylight Studios, published by Abylight Studios, it released July 13th on the Nintendo 3DS for $11.99. A young witch's sorrow has been corrupted by a malicious demon who uses her tears to open a gateway to hell. Now the kingdom is threatened as evil floods the countryside, but all is not lost. Fate has given you a range of weapons to bring the battle to the heart of the demon. There are secrets to be found and power-ups to be had. Prepare yourself for a journey into the Cursed Castilla EX. What'd you think of this one?
All right. Cursed Castilla EX. Yes, I did request this one. And part of the reason is because I more or less know the co-founder of Abylight Studios, Abylight, whatever. I never heard it pronounced.
Me neither. I just guess.
But yeah, Alberto fucking Gonzalez, a legendary Game Boy music maker. If you ever get a chance, listen to his Smurfs Nightmares, Baby Felix, all these games you wouldn't think would have outstanding soundtracks. Oh, all the Turok games on the Game Boy. He wrote all of those when he worked for Infogrames back in the, whenever those were around, I guess 90s.
Something like that.
Yeah, so what he's up to is, of course, Abylight Studios, who have made several really good games. This is the one, besides a shooter that I think they're about to bring over, or they might have brought it over to some other platforms, but I'm waiting for it on 3DS. But besides that, this is the one I was really excited about. So what we've got here is, of course, a throwback arcade-style action game, action platformer with some exploring elements to it. The first thing I think you would think of when you picked up this game and started playing is like, oh, Ghosts and Goblins, of course, because you're a knight with a beard. He jumps with that sort of outlandish jump and throws his weapon at enemies that just keep popping up out of the ground and out of the air and everything like that. What I think takes this or puts this game apart from it all is that it's just there's so much, like, it feels lush. There's just so much care taken into every little angle of this game. And with the EX version, of course, they're taking advantage of certain aspects of the 3DS that I really appreciate. For one, the game has now been put into stereoscopic 3D, of course, which is something I'm told that Alberto largely worked on himself, and it looks really good. Like, I would say Mutant Mudds level good, and Mutant Mudds is like my favorite game that utilizes 3D that way. So it's got that. It's got an outstanding classic soundtrack. Like, it's Alberto didn't write the music himself, but but was it Griozor 87? Somebody's old Zanga name, but Griozor 87. He wrote the music for it, and it is a joy. Like, listen to this game on bass. Like, go find the soundtrack. I know it's out there somewhere. I think it's it possibly has a Bandcamp, but I know it's all on YouTube. Just listen to it with headphones and listen to that FM bass. It is outstanding. The other addition to it, and I've never seen this before on a 3DS game, so I really appreciated it, is that the bottom screen, the touch screen, is an arcade panel. It's basically a front view of an arcade. Like, it's got the joystick and the buttons, and even the coin insert and the door underneath. So the cool thing about that is that it not only looks cool and actually moves along with your button commands. If you touch it with the stylus or whatever, you can actually control the game that way. I suppose if you got your thumbs or two styluses, you could actually play the full game with the arcade stick that's there. And it's a little bit of an Easter egg, I think, but you can open the service door on the arcade and flip the dip switches.
Oh, so, that's cool as hell.
Yeah. And when you start the game up, it actually does the little RAM and ROM check, like you're booting up an arcade machine for the first time.
That's awesome.
So, so much cool stuff. And then past that, like, the game itself is exactly what you want out of an old school arcade machine, I think, because the difficulty is crazy. Like, first couple of levels you get through just fine. The bosses are really big and impressive, and the whole thing has this like I said, it has an arcadey, like early Capcom look to it. Not exactly 8-bit, not exactly 16-bit. It looks more arcade authentic. And you get a few levels in, you get the automatic scrolling stage where your hero and your couple of guys are like fighting off like the demon harpy things, and then you have to fight a 2-headed eagle. And then you get into a castle where you have to pick and kind of have to explore and figure your way out of it. And the cool thing about like all that, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm watching the attract mode. But yeah, like you get that classic arcade action, and infinite continues, of course, because this is a modern game. But it tells you at your 4th continue, you're technically out of continues now, wink, wink. Do you want to just keep going? And you're like, oh. So it's one of those games where you probably get the good ending if you get it within 3 continues. But it's like we know this game's hard, so you can just keep going and possibly get a bad ending. And I'm like, fine, at least you warned me.
You're not gonna beat it anyway.
Yeah, I got way stuck. I think I've used like 100 continues already.
Good lord.
It's fine. I actually really quite enjoy it, and so it has that. And then once you do beat the game, it has the option to actually throw a speedrun timer into the game's playing field, so you can then measure how fast you can get through this game. So they really have the modern gamer in mind for this thing. And I quite like that. The other thing I really enjoy is that it has a codex that's basically 3 books that look like sort of medieval European art that describe like the first book is about the heroes and items and secrets, and then one is like a list of the enemies and bosses, and then one that talks about the music, which you open it up and it's actually just sheet music, and it starts playing the song, and it just shows you like the staff.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
sounds like a pretty full-featured package.
Yeah, this is I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, because I am biased. And I would, that's the thing, is I would have liked this game no matter what. But what I'm saying is that like this is the exact kind of action game that when it comes along on 3DS, this is the type of thing I think should be on this system. It basically hits all the notes.
So is it even worth asking for $11.99? What are your thoughts on this one?
$11.99, buy it twice. Buy one for yourself, then force one upon a friend.
Nintendo doesn't have that yet, do they? Like gifting.
They used to have that. They had that with the Wii.
Yeah.
A friend gifted me Wrecking Crew.
Why?
And I tried playing it. I don't know. I was like, okay, it's all right.
That's mean.
I like the soundtrack.
So yeah, it sounds like Asdivine Cross and Cursed Castilla, 2 really solid 3DS games.
Yes, I was very happy with this week's review stuff. Any
new updates on RPG Maker?
Largely, I've been trying to develop the plot and kind of write it out. I'm messing with making kind of stock characters and giving them dialogue bubbles and trying to fill them in and see like what feels right. So we're still in the really early stages there, but I've been really busy preparing for the next gimmick show, which is next week. We'll be unveiling our new guitarist and actually playing with Kirby's Dream Band.
Ooh.
Yeah. So lots of exciting stuff, but I will be working on that more, especially now that I don't really have any games on my plate now.
Well, you'll have to keep us updated on your progress, and don't worry, I'm sure a new KEMCO game will be out soon.
Hooray!
So, any final words to sum up those 2 games?
Man, go buy them.
All right, next game to talk about is called Grid Retroenhanced, developed by Antab Studio, published by Kongregate, released July 26th on Xbox One and Windows 10 for $11.99, so you could get it later on this week. Previously available on Steam, Grid Retroenhanced is an intense arcade-style cyberpunk hacking shoot-'em-up with an incredible soundtrack, procedurally generated elements, and electric visuals. We have our friend Cole Martin covering this one. Cole, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Things are okay. I guess.
Not sunshiny, but not gray. Sometimes you just got to be in the middle.
Yeah, you do what you could do. You do what you could do. So tell me about Grid.
Grid, I want to make something clear. When I review games for you guys, I make a little list of notes. Sometimes I remember to bring them with me when I do the show. Sometimes I don't. In Grid's case, I have my notes, and the very first thing that I wrote down when I started playing this game is that it is a literal visual assault. It is very vibrant. It is very bright. It's almost kind of maybe even worse than Tron in that just everything glows. It's got a very heavy 80s vibe. You know, I was a kid in the 80s, so we had a very odd opinion on what hacking and, firewalls in the inside of a computer was in the 80s. And Grid does a very good job of bringing all that to life. But it is an assault on your eyeballs if there ever was one. And the flashing and a lot of the frequent movement in the game, the way some of the elements move and where they glow, I got motion sickness from this, and I poked at you when you got motion sickness from Narcosis, and this was karma getting me back tenfold.
Haha, suck it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, this did not give me motion sickness.
I have never had motion sickness in a game before, and just within a few minutes of this one, my stomach was just doing flip-flops. I was just like, what on earth is wrong with me? And then it caught up to me because I get car sick, but I don't typically get, I don't get sick in a boat or anything. So I'm like, what is going on? And then I was like, I might puke. And I've never felt that way from a game before. So if you are sensitive to, like a lot of flashing lights and motion and blur and camera shake, this game's going to be tough for you. You may want to play with a puke bucket nearby because it will mess with your senses.
Yeah, it's so weird. I was, when you mentioned that you were getting motion sick from it, I was like, man, I wonder if this game's going to affect me. And it didn't bother me at all. I've had it with other games that we've covered on the show and VR stuff. And even a game that we're going to be talking about on next episode, which I'll mention there. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet. But, this one didn't really do anything to me.
I suffered. And it was a shame that I struggled with it so much because I did enjoy it. And it was legitimately fun. You play, you have control of... I was going to say, you should explain the actual game instead of... I should. It made me sick. I'm sorry. You have control of a ship that very notably looks like a mouse cursor. And you are in this little cyber world. There's a track, but you're not necessarily stuck to the track. You're not quite on the rails, even though you are on the rails, if that makes sense. You can move your ship in a 360 around, and you'll have to navigate obstacles, including, lasers and shields that the computer system will put up to try to block you out. You're in... What's the word I'm looking for? It's like you're trying to hack this system. And so, of course, that adds a little dimension to why your ship looks like a mouse cursor and, the firewalls going up, if you will, as a means of the computer protecting itself from you. So you'll have to shoot, you can shoot down the shields, the system shields when they pop up. And they're just large yellow, not squares. What's the word I'm looking for? They're geometric shapes, and they'll kind of like form a barrier, but there's usually at least some kind of little hole you can get through even if you can't shoot them down. And there are power-ups that will pop up on the track at random intervals so that you can, if you're having trouble shooting down the shields that come up, you can pick up a power up along the way to boost your own shield if you smash into something, or to increase your firepower. in addition to the lasers that you'll want to dodge and the shields that will come up, there are actual bugs in the system, and you will have to destroy them. One of the bosses that will come up looks sort of like a centipede, if you will, but without legs. Like this just long space worm flies around, and it's metallic, and it's got weak spots hidden in between the sections of the body. But before you can hit those, you have to open up access to them by hitting the antenna around the head.
Yeah. I don't think they're between the sections. I think they're on the flip side, because this section before you get to that boss, all those little coaster-looking things, the discs pop up, and they'll usually be facing away from you, so if you shoot it, it just reflects back at you and kills you, which is fucking bullshit. But
that's one thing that it does well, though. The enemies that you encounter and the obstacles you encounter leading up to the bosses, they will prepare you for that boss.
Yeah.
That you're not like just thrown in there and I have no idea what to do with this now. You know, you will, before you get to the worm-looking boss, you will have the orbs that pop up that you shoot, and then, like you said, you know, the plates that are metallic on one side, and then the actual hitbox on the other. So I mean, the part of the run leading up to the boss, it at least prepares you for what you're coming up on, and that's a good thing, because if you die, you're dead.
Yeah,
you have to start the whole arcade experience from the start again. No do-overs, no saves, no extra lives. If you lose your health, rip you. That's just all there is to it. So, it realistically, like I said, where everything kind of prepares you for the next stage, it makes it easy to pick up, and it makes it easier to play. But if you're really going to get far, you've either got to be incredibly determined or really good. Because you have that roguelike state where you're just doing it over and over again while you memorize the patterns of the bosses and the enemies that are coming.
I gotta say, my time with it, I think my only real gripe that I've had with it, besides just the initial confusion when you get in, because it just kind of throws you into things.
Yeah, there's no tutorial or anything.
It took me a bit to get used to the controls and like where my ship was going. I always seem to be like steering into things when I think I'm avoiding them. I'm not sure
I did
if
that
you had issues with that.
The first couple runs, you know, the lack of any kind of explanation, like I thought that I had to stay on that set path that's in the center, and I didn't know I could deviate from that the first couple times. And then I learned, I can't deviate from that. And then I learned, I can go all the way up to the top and back down. And so it took some serious trial and error, and I probably failed a good 15 or 20 times just to get halfway through the arcade, only to die. And then I was like, look, I'm too motion sick to do this again.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy game, but
no, it's easy to pick up.
Yeah, easy to pick up,
you know,
very difficult to master, I can see.
Yeah, indeed. I can agree with that.
So,
but I did enjoy it, and I wanted to play it more. Just I couldn't. And there are two modes. There's the arcade mode. There's also an endless mode. So, but I think you have to get to the end of the arcade to unlock that. And as far as
I didn't get to unlock endless yet, and I don't know if I'll be able to.
I don't think I ever will.
Because I need to get good, because I am a scrub.
See, I thought I was doing, I mean, all things considered, I did fairly well. I didn't think it was overwhelmingly difficult or anything that I couldn't master if I put, the time in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know if I've got the gumption to put that kind of time in
No.
it.
Overall, though, for $11.99, what are your thoughts on this one?
I give it a tentative try it because it was enjoyable. It was fun. But it's not gonna be something everybody can play. It's not really just like there's gonna be people that are either gonna be put off by the learning curve of the roguelike and the lack of a tutorial and all that. And then there's going to be people that are put off, if they get motion sickness from it. But otherwise, I thought it was fun. I wanted to go back to it. I wanted to play it again. So it's for the $12 price tag. It's enjoyable if you can sustain the assault on your eyeballs.
Yeah, it still surprises me that it got you sick when me, someone who has frequently suffered from motion sickness in games, had no problems with it. I don't know.
Finally got me, though. If you think of all the games you've given me since I started reviewing for you that should have made me nauseated in some way or another, this is the one that finally got me. Well.
Cole, thank you as always for covering this game for us. I do agree with you. I think it's better than a tentative try. I think it's recommended as long as you're getting into a fairly brutal difficulty-wise roguelike shoot 'em up that just it's all about the replayability and getting further and further and further. And the soundtrack, holy shit, is it so good.
Oh, that soundtrack is good. I can't believe I didn't mention that. But yeah, that soundtrack is amazing.
I mean, it was mentioned in the description for it where they describe it as an incredible soundtrack, and I agree.
Same.
So, thank you again for covering this. Do you have any final words to wrap up the review?
No. Check the game out. It was really fun. And I actually, even though I struggled with the bright, and the motion blur and stuff, I thought the colors were really cool and it reminded me of my childhood. So if you're looking for something retro, grab this.
I was an 80s child too, so I'm with you on that one. Moving on, the next game to talk about is called Death Squared, developed and published by SMG Studio, released July 13th on the Nintendo Switch for $14.99, previously available on Xbox, PS4, and Steam. Death Squared is a cooperative puzzle game for 1, 2, or 4 players, best enjoyed with loved ones who don't mind a little arguing for the greater good. Each player needs to guide a robot to a color-coded goal, but the path is beset with deadly traps and hazards. For those that can't get enough, head to the vault and you'll find extra experiments recommended only for the brave. The Nintendo Switch release also includes a handful of brand new stages not in the other versions. Covering this one for us this week, we are bringing back our good friend George. Norg, how are you doing today?
Death Squared!
Oh man, what a hoot this one was.
Whew!
So, do tell us, how was your time with Death Squared?
Well, the short version is that it was boatloads of fun. I had just the trippiest ball playing this game, just because I kind of rate everything based on the Dwarf Fortress scale. How much fun is dying? And this game totally lives up to the Dwarf Fortress idea that death should be fun and interesting and creative, and it checks off all the boxes. There were some levels where I wanted to throw my Switch out the window, but I kept coming back, and it was super satisfying when you got to a certain level that just didn't make any sense, and you tried and you tried and you tried, and finally after like 40 deaths you were able to figure out some way of making it work. And sometimes figuring out one of those ways was total cheeseball. Like, you're looking at it like, okay, I just nudged red and blue into their spots. There's no way that this should work, but it worked, and I'm moving on to the next one.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's just the actual puzzle aspect of it. Once you start into it, it's like you can't stop because the dialogue is fun. The dialogue is totally playing on the idea that you're some poor slob working in an AI lab, I assume. That's what I took away from it. And you're communicating with an AI of some form, or a computer system of some form. And you are just bored out of your skull, and this is your job. The guy who did the voicings made it sound like this is the type of job that's maybe one step up from telemarketing, just droning through his miserable life trying to do what he's supposed to do in all of this thing. And the dialogue really kept it fresh and interesting, especially when things were super, super frustrating at the time. The couple of times that I tried to run this with other people really depended on the people. I only was able to find 2 other victims to try it with, and one got and I didn't really want to have my Switch get thrown out the window.
Such a fitting way to put it, too.
Victimry, yes. One kind of got it right away. He was like, "Oh, dude, this is awesome." The other guy was not digging it quite as much.
The other guy, we're not on speaking terms anymore.
No, it was awkward. But yeah, communication was definitely the key to trying to solve some of these puzzles. Single player, I would argue, just because I'm a recluse, was a lot more fun. The main levels are great, and it was super satisfying. I actually got all the way to the end of the main levels of the game. Like, I could not put this thing down, start to finish.
Wow.
It was fantastic. I think it was like 80 levels in total. And the end was also extremely super satisfying mostly. The ending felt in a way kind of like, what was that game? Thomas is Alone, I think it was called. And it kind of almost bittersweet in a way, but it was great, and it was worth getting all the way to the end, even waiting through the credits and then letting the credits continue to play out after it looked like they were over. That you were textually rewarded for doing so. And then there was the Vault, which was just these weird, super weird levels that didn't make any sense in the context of the actual regular campaign game. And I got through all but 2 of them. And I still can't figure out 2 of them. And I can't find any videos on YouTube that explain how to get through the 2 of them. So I am just going to have to remain stuck and figure it out. So that one's to be continued.
I mean, you can always figure them out and do the videos yourself.
I probably could. It was funny. I was telling you this earlier. I got to level 50, like the last time we talked.
Yeah.
And I was completely stumped. And I finally did something I never do. I always want to figure these things out by myself. And I wanted to make sure that I got through the whole thing in time for the review. So I started going onto YouTube and looking for tutorials on how to get through the levels. And I saw like 1 or 2 guys that had put tutorials together, and the one guy who had gotten the furthest got to level 35. And I was like, you mean I have to do this on my own? What kind of shit is this? So I ended up just plowing through it and figuring it out on my own. So yeah, there's 2 vault levels that I can't quite figure out, but I am dying to do that. So my verdict is, in case you hadn't quite figured this out, buy it hard, and enjoy the stuffing out of it.
Before jumping directly to the verdict, which I guess is too late. Too late because you already did it. But for the people who don't know, like, explain the game to us.
Oh, I thought you did a pretty good job of explaining it. You control, in the single-player version, you control a red robot and a blue robot. The object is to get the red robot onto the red circle and the blue robot onto the blue circle. Because games are supposed to be punishment, they continue to increase the level of difficulty and obstacles and things that get in the way of getting red robot to red square and blue robot to blue square. And in some cases, there are levels where there are lasers that follow the red robot around. And the red robot is impervious to the red laser, but the red laser will destroy the blue robot. And in some cases, there are blue lasers following the blue robot around. In other cases, there is a laser that is pointed at your red robot, but it is the blue laser. And if the blue robot or red robot do anything in the wrong fashion, it will trigger that laser and blow up the red robot, and so forth and so on. So you're basically, as the levels get harder and harder and higher and higher, seconds away from hilarious particle-driven death derbies. It's so much fun. Was that a good description of what it is that you're looking for?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Just so that the people know what the game is.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm curious to know, because I played it and we reviewed it on the Xbox One, and clearly 2 players there, or not 2 players, but the single player, each analog stick controlled one of the cubes.
Correct.
Are you able to play this with just a Joy-Con, or does it require both Joy-Con be attached? Because I'm not sure if there's a way to like to do a single player with just a Joy-Con, only having the one analog stick and then the buttons.
Well, what I ended up doing on the single player version, the left Joy-Con analog stick controlled the blue robot, and then the right Joy-Con analog stick controlled the red robot.
Yeah.
So when I tried it with friends of mine, I probably should have tried disconnecting the Joy-Cons from the thing to see how that would have worked. I left them connected, and we just looked at the screen and manipulated our robots.
And held hands with your other hand?
We're not supposed to talk about that. I'm married.
It's okay. Your wife won't listen to the show.
It wasn't hands we were holding.
You were just spooning. Like
just in case you were wondering.
So yeah, I'm guessing for the $15, you're pretty happy with it.
Absolutely. Would not I don't even know that I would have known about it unless you told me about it, and I'm glad you told me, because it was worth every minute of every victory of frustration and victory.
And I know when we first started talking about you covering the game, I linked you to the Red Band trailer of the game. What were your thoughts on that?
I'm trying to remember, but I think it set up the mood of the game, and I think that's what compelled me to want to try it, because, oh my gosh, I may not have said any of those things out loud because I have children, but I seriously was thinking it sometimes. There were a couple of times where it might have been level, I don't remember what level it was, but at one point I was playing it and Amy looks over at me and says, "You look really frustrated right now. I thought games were supposed to be fun." And I'm like, "This is fun!" And yeah, I didn't actually yell at my wife because I'm not that kind of guy, but yeah.
Honey, are you okay? Get the fuck away from me. Oh my God.
I'm fine!
Oh my Lord. You're going to go back in from after the review. She'll be like, "Are you okay, honey?"
Red face, puffy. Joe Cam triggered me! Fuck!
Oh my God, I love when you're on the show, George. The best part is, like, before we started recording this bit of the show, George, you mentioned the game Overcooked.
Yeah, that one.
You're going to go through the same shit if we get that one for you to cover.
I am all in on that. I swear. I saw like a 3-second preview of it, and I'm like, "Ooh, that looks like fun. I want to try that."
Oh, it's a lot of fun, and
somebody should hook me up with some of that.
I'm hoping we get to cover it, because I know the original game, you were able to play 2 players with a single controller on like Xbox or PlayStation. And nice. I'm curious to know if, because the game pretty much just comes down to like control, like an analog stick or directional buttons, and then, you know, when you're playing it that way, a shoulder button as your action. And I'm curious to know if you'd be able to play 4 players with just the 2 Joy-Con of the system.
Ooh.
So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that one for you to check out for the show. But thank you for covering Death Squared for us. We really enjoyed it on Xbox One, and it's good to hear that the Switch version is still awesome. Did you?
Absolutely.
Are the extra Switch stages, are those like do they have a notation next to them in the vault or anything?
You know, I actually don't know, and I didn't dig. I didn't want to look into it too much because I didn't want to like get spoilers of any kind or find out that I found things that I wasn't supposed to find, or secretly find ways to get to things I otherwise wouldn't have figured out. So I know that there are levels in the vault, and I don't actually know if the original version had its own vault as well. I'm assuming it did, but I don't know how many levels were in the vault on the original version, or if it turned out that somehow I managed to either miss them because I didn't dive deeper enough into the game, like with the 4-player mode, which I never really got to try, or the fact that maybe I needed to finish the ones that were in the vault as it was before it unlocked other ones, because I'm still 2 levels shy of completing the vault cycle. So yeah, I actually can't answer that question.
It's possible that they're just mixed in with all the others as well, and they're just not. They don't have any kind of special notification that, hey, this is an exclusive level.
Could be. The other thing I was thinking was the possibility that maybe some of the levels that were in the main campaign version were Switch specific, because that could possibly explain why there weren't any other videos of some of the higher level content. So I don't know.
Possible. You never know.
I didn't do a comparison again because I didn't want to do anything to spoil surprises and ruin the review.
I hear you. It's all good. But again, thanks again for handling that one for us. I actually have a Switch game of my own to review if you want to stick around.
I'd love to.
This one is called Bulb Boy, developed and published by Bulbware. It released July 6th on the Nintendo Switch for $8.99, previously available on Steam, and it is planned for Xbox and PlayStation 4 as well. One gloomy night, Bulb Boy wakes suddenly from a frightening nightmare to discover that evil has overshadowed the Bulb House. His family has disappeared, and there are horde monsters lurking in the shadows. Gather the courage and use his glass head to save everything he loves. So this is basically a horror-styled point-and-click adventure game for the most part, where you have the head like a light bulb head. That's what the Bulb Boy comes from. You are a light bulb-headed boy, I guess. That's
a 9 Inch Nails song waiting to happen.
Head like a bulb! Glass as your...
Go on.
I think you broke me.
You were saying?
Oh, man. But anyway, God, I'm so lost now.
Glass head. Yes.
Your head can detach from your body, and it's used to solve puzzles. God, I am so lost right now because... All right.
Bulb Boy.
Bring it back together. Bulb Boy.
Centered.
You are a boy with a light bulb head that can be detached for use in certain puzzles and certain sections of the game. When you start, you're basically like shutting off a TV and going to bed, and your grandfather's going to bed, and your dog is just hanging out and whatever else. So you shut everything down, go to bed, and then you wake up in the middle of the night. And I don't know if it's the nightmare that you're having or if the entire world is a nightmare, but there is some crazy monsters that have overtaken your world and your home and stolen your grandfather, and it is your quest to go through your house, dodging the monsters, solving puzzles, defeating the monsters, and saving your family, and everything being wonderful again. The story is told without any words at all, so everything is done in like thought bubbles and just like grunts and noises. But it's fairly easy to follow, thankfully. Visually, the game has an awesome visual style reminiscent of John Kay from like Ren and Stimpy, stuff like that. Has a very old school animated feel to it. It's weird that like 90s cartoons are now considered old school.
Why do you gotta talk like that? I mean, seriously.
Because we're old and dying.
That's like when you turn on the radio to the classic station and you hear Huey Lewis in the news and you're like, wait a second.
I don't know. That's kind of the big problem is when you turn on the classic rock station and you're hearing like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Motley Crue.
Doc, no.
That's what hurts.
I'm not ready for that yet.
That's our life, man. We've But yeah, the game has awesome style to it. Playing through it, I know the game has a teen rating, but it really does feel like this was something geared towards younger audiences. The violence that is in the game is very cartoonish in style, and there's no blood reds to it. The screen does turn red when you die, but it's not like There's no crazy gore in the game. It really does feel like something I wouldn't say like pre-teens would enjoy, but I think like maybe 10 to 12 wouldn't. I guess that is pre-teen, huh?
Yeah, 10 to 12 is technically the tweener
I guess
age.
The single-digit kids, the youngins, might not really get into it, but I could see like 10-year-olds and up giving this one a shot and really enjoying it. Is that a new term? Are we going to call them the pre-tweens? I guess so. We'll call them the singles. The singles. Wasn't that a movie with like Liv Tyler and... Oh, wait, no, that wasn't that one. Never mind. Okay. Pre-tweens, continue. Anyway, it seems good for the pre-tween audience and up. It wasn't a very long game. I was able to get through it in, God, probably only an hour and a half or so. Oh. Hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's a fairly short experience, and it possibly could have been even quicker, but a lot of the puzzles in the game come down to trial and error, where you figure something out, then you immediately die, and then you have to refigure it out. There was even a section later in the game where you're able to control two of the characters at once, you and your dog, and there's like no kind of allusion to the fact at all that you're able to control the second character with the other analog stick. So I was just walking around for a while like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And it was only when I set the controller down and nudged the analog stick that I saw the dog move, and I'm like, oh my god, really? I can move the other character. Because up until then, you just used the one character. So I think there were some sections in the game that could have done a little bit better of explaining things to you, especially when they just drop a brand new game mechanic into the game fairly far through it and don't clue you in at all about it. I mean, my kid plays this Duplo Lego train thing, and my younger kid is 2.5, and there are no dialogues or message bubbles. It just takes everything by pointing a finger repeatedly at the thing you're supposed to touch if you don't figure it out fast enough. So those mechanics exist, and obviously you don't necessarily need to treat your audience like 2-year-olds, but granted, I've seen my 2.5-year-old can probably handle an iPad better than most people who are older than 70. So there's something to be said about that too. But true. you can guide your audience without pandering. Yeah, at least in that section of the game, I think it would have been helpful to be like, hey, you have two characters, and like show a picture of the controller or something with the second stick moving with a dog picture or something. It seemed weird to just thrust that on you out of nowhere, and then it doesn't really get used again in the game. It's just that one section where you can control two characters at once, and it just felt weird. It was nice that the game kept changing things up, but there was still... They could have notified you. Yeah, and there was still a decent amount of frustration and repetition in some of the later stuff as there was just a lot of trial and error and deaths. Thankfully, they have a fairly robust autosave, so anytime you get through something fairly tricky, it autosaves right away, and you're like, oh, well, thank God I don't have to mess with that again. Nice. What were you about to say before I cut you off? I was going to say, going back to the point of if they introduce a new mechanic to it, obviously they've made the decision to force you to just try to explore and figure it out, as opposed to doing whatever it is that most games do nowadays, where you get like the little popping sounds and then a blinking arrow, like, and then beep 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 beep. Gently guiding you to the new mechanic that they have introduced, as opposed to, hey, there's a thing. What does it do? I don't know. Let's just nudge another stick and see what happens. That sounds too much like work. Well, you could go and get some more propane while we're looking. Just, I don't know. Damn it, Bobby. Damn it, Norg. Keep your eye on the ball, son. Ain't you the two boys I caught shaving my cat last week?
No. No way. Shut up, butthole.
I still love that he used the same voice for Hank Hill.
Tom Arnold Tom Anderson and Hank Hill were basically the same voice.
No.
Just Hank Hill had a tiny bit more articulation than the other guy.
Oh, man. But yeah, Bold Boy, really, really cool game. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, I loved the visual style to it. Very stylish game. The music, what was there was, enough to keep you going along. There was nothing super grating to it. The biggest gripes with the game are just the kind of lack of direction at that one section in the game. The overall trial and error deaths that you'll run into, which I guess is, it happens in games like this. You can't just hold your hand the entire way through. And then the length. If someone knows what they're doing, you could probably beat this in less than an hour.
And what's the cost for the game?
That's the good part. It's only $9. So given that it's only $9, it's really enjoyable experience. Again, gorgeous looking game. I gotta give this a recommended try. It's really good, fun. If your daughter isn't too bothered with poop jokes, I think she might enjoy this one.
She was making poop jokes at dinner tonight.
You fight a giant turd in the game. Yeah.
Well, there's the butt of the joke right there. Hey.
Yeah, overall, I really dug it, though. So you might dig it, too.
Cool.
So yeah, two pretty awesome Switch games that came out, and it's good to see more stuff hitting the Switch. Seems like Nintendo's getting some good amount of support, which certainly helps with all the negativity hitting the Switch over that god-awful chat app that they have.
Oh, Lord. I haven't tried it. I've just talked to people that have attempted to use it, and most of the friends that I know that are doing anything Splatoon related are just going right over to Discord and bypassing anything that the Switch app has to offer at this point.
Yeah, I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm just not going to voice chat on the Switch. Fuck it.
Yeah, not at this point. Wii U did chat better than this.
The Nintendo needs to get their shit together. It seems like every time they do something really good and they're making some progress, they pull out something like a goddamn mobile phone app for voice chat where you can't turn off the screen.
They can't all be ringers.
Ridiculous.
I know.
But anyway, George, thank you so much for dropping by the show and covering Death Squared and listening to me talk about Bold Boy and then throwing me off with your screaming and...
Fuck!
So,
my distinct pleasure.
That said, any final words to sum up your review?
This is SML!
And final game to talk about tonight is called Dead Core, developed by 5 Bits Games, published by Grip Digital. It released July 14th on Xbox One and PS4 for $7.99. Dead Core is a platformer FPS blending exploration and speedrunning. Become immersed in a futuristic and dreamlike adventure which will see you climb a huge tower, born from the void, and truly put your capabilities to the test. Will you be able to reveal the secrets that lie beneath this fog-ridden world? To find the answer to that question, we bring in a very special guest, returning to the show for the first time in an episode. CJ, how you doing?
Hey, dude.
Welcome back. It's been so long. Thanks for showing up this episode, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I almost didn't.
Yeah, it's $2.99. You figured you'd want to be here for this one.
Oh, yeah, because $2.99 is such a special number.
So tell us about Dead Core. What's up with this game?
Well, Dead Core is a platformer, and I was just gonna read the thing again, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, it is what it says it is. It is. All right, it is what it says it is. It's an FPS platformer where you have a little gun that kind of activates and deactivates items that you can interact with. Like you jump around, and then you can activate a push-like platformer, kind of like a man cannon in Halo. and it'll fling you to another platform. Or sometimes you have to deactivate them because it'll be in the way of another platformer, and if you jump into it, it'll send you way off and kill you. And the basic idea is to just climb as high as you can and complete each level. It's starts off really easy, and then it gets pretty challenging within a couple of levels. It starts to become a game of trial and error, really, as you just keep trying the same thing over and over again. Due to, awesomely, there are checkpoints, so you just keep respawning at the same part and keep trying over and over again. I do wish that there was the checkpoints were put in slightly better places, but other than that, like, the checkpoints are a very nice addition. I mean, sometimes you'll run into a puzzle, you finally beat a really hard part, and then there's a really easy jump before the thing, and if you fuck that up, it's like, oh my god. I'm just going to shoot myself in the head with this activation gun. But generally speaking, it's not that rough. The other thing that you have to watch out for are turrets and like these flying robots that'll boop you, really. Like they hit you and then you get pushed. They don't actually kill you instantly. And you have to use your activation gun to shoot them in order to turn the flying cubes off or to delay a shot from the thing. It doesn't really slow it down too much, but it'll reset the shot timer because it needs to charge up for the turrets. And then on top of that, there are these like laser grids that if you touch, you get disintegrated. So you have to kind of redo that and make sure to not hit those grids. And those grids will be the death of you many, many, many of times. Because they're basically the worst part about the game, for the most part. I mean, they're the things that are going to kill you. You don't really have to worry about the turret that often. I think I've been killed by a turret maybe once, because I just didn't know it was there. And all they do is they shoot a little slow-moving orb at you that'll hit you, and then it'll launch you off your platform.
Yeah.
But you might be wondering, how does this game convert to controller? Because these games are dangerous on console if not ported correctly and made to work well with the controller. And luckily I can say that this game works perfectly fine with the controller because they didn't use the A button for jump. Instead you use LT, which is a perfectly fine thing to use.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know. What the hell was the one game? Refunked. You were worried about covering that one because of your time with Cluster Truck having the jump on the A button, but seems like Cluster Truck was like the odd one out that has jump on a button when you need both finger or both thumbs on the thumbsticks.
Yeah, it makes the game a lot easier to handle when you can jump and look at the same time. It makes the game what could be a really bad nightmare of a game actually quite fun. And I generally enjoy these FPS platformers, so I don't really have a problem with this one either. This one's basically what it says it is. It's just that. There's nothing that's too special about it, but it adds that element of being able to deactivate stuff, which is pretty cool. But it's a lot of the same thing over and over again. The environments don't really change because I think the whole game is basically just climbing one tower. It's just a very large tower that'll take time. Like there are levels that'll take like half an hour to beat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like the game isn't exactly short like Refunked, but it's also quite a few dollars more. So, I mean, not a huge amount. It's only like $7.99 still, which is actually cheaper than it is on Steam, which is mind-boggling. Like I didn't expect that. Craziness abounds. Now, on top of that, there's a speedrun mode which I didn't really get to work with that much, but I assume it's just like it takes your times. They might get rid of checkpoints, which would be a nightmare, but I have no idea because you have to beat the entire game before you can work on speedrun mode.
I would imagine they might do stuff like take out like the story sequences, or if there's
no story sequences,
like no cutscenes or anything.
Nope.
Well, then I don't know what difference it does.
I don't know because it also times you in the regular mode. So maybe you have a limited amount of time instead of it like timing clock, like the clock going up, it goes down, and if you can't beat the level within that amount of time, you fail it.
Or it might just have one of those overlays that speedrunners use where they have like they mark off your best times up to a certain checkpoint, and
that might be the case. I know that there is a timer on the gun, but it is quite possible that it'll have like the kind of like the Forza things where it's just like each checkpoint you hit, it'll give you your time and your split between the last time you were there.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Overall, though, the game's pretty fun. It's unique in the sense that it adds more to the genre, but it's not like overly amazing. It's just a solid game for what it is.
It's a good-looking game too.
Oh yeah, for not having variety, at least they really nailed what they wanted it to look like. It does look
a cool
good.
Futuristic style to it, and the backgrounds with like the storms and the clouds, and looks pretty nice.
It does look very nice. Again, it's $7.99. It's not like it's not a bank breaker. It's worth that price.
So for the $8, what's your verdict?
I mean, for the $8, if you're a fan of the genre, you should absolutely buy it because it's not gonna cost you a whole lot. It's a pretty fun game, and it introduces some a little different twist with the gun.
Cool.
If you're not a huge fan of the genre, I'd still give it a try. I mean, you don't know, maybe the gun aspect will change things up for you a little bit, make you enjoy it a little more.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I might have to pick this one up myself. Looks pretty good.
You should.
Maybe I will.
It's only $7.99.
Well, if it's only $7.99, do you think that's cheap enough to be a fuck it, why not, or is it just
no? I think $5 is $4.99 is where I cut it.
Oh, look at you with your standards.
Not to mention, fuck it, why not is for a game that would have been a try it, but this is actually a buy it.
True. Sounds good. Well, before we wrap things up, we do have one other thing to take care of tonight, and that's a giveaway. We have 3 copies of the game Serial Cleaner on Xbox One to give away, and we have 6 emails coming in.
Ooh, so we have to make the decisions.
We have decisions to make. We actually have 7 emails, but I think 2 of them are from Robert Mertens, and I think he forgot he emailed us.
That's funny.
Because the one is from the 22nd, and today, when we're recording this, is the 24th, so he might have just forgotten. What are you going to do?
Maybe. Or maybe he wants 2 codes.
Maybe. But we are only going to go after his first email with this. So let us start. The first email is from Dark Mika is on fire, who says, email us the grossest mess you've cleaned up. A drunk friend, like super drunk, pooped in the tub and vomited both inside the tub and outside it onto both the floor mat and the floor next to the mat. Was a lovely mess to clean after I cleaned vomit from the side of my trash can from someone else, and just in general the cups and glasses and cans and crap up from everywhere. The following day I had to wash my guest bed sheets. Thank fuck it was the guest ones, because that drunk twat turned around and went and slept on the bed. They hadn't wiped and had vomit on themselves. It was lovely. I ended up vomiting twice while cleaning. So fucking nasty. Just remember it makes me get a bad taste in my mouth.
This sounds really gross, actually.
We're starting off with a bang. If you couldn't tell, the goal for this one was to email us the grossest thing you've had to clean up. Since Serial Cleaner
was my idea.
It was about cleaning up death, murder scenes, and fun stuff.
I really hope that nobody emailed saying that they actually had to clean up a crime scene.
So let's see. Dark Mika, vomit and poo at the same time.
On bed and tub.
So next email's from Robert M, who says, hi, nice, thank you for the chance to win Serial Cleaner on Xbox One. The biggest mess I must clean up was after my 16th birthday. Overall, beer, food, sausages, and other things in the garden from my parents. Holy moly, my parents were not amused.
Sausage in the garden.
Underage sausage party? I mean, that sounds horrible, but technically, he said it was a party and there was sausage, and he was only 16.
Yeah, who has sausage at a party unless it's a sausage party?
Exactly. Next email from John Harvey, who says, the building I was working in renovations done by a very dodgy company. They ended up leaving the half-finished building without cleaning up the leftover construction waste or removing the rubbish. This included the toilet that they were using and had managed to fill to overflowing and block up the pipe somewhere. Eventually, my section were told to get it cleaned up. My manager takes one look and tells me, double time for doing it, and disappeared. I had just left school and was on a trainee wage, so double time felt like a relatively big bonus. What I saw will stay with me forever. It was piled up out of the bowl. Oh my lord. A whole toilet full of half-rotted down human waste. It went about 2 to 3 feet deep, and it started to break down and compress under its own weight, squeezing the stinking liquid from the greenish tinted solids. This stench was so bad and so overpowering, even through the mask, that I was sick twice and dry heaved all through the cleanup. I had to dig it all out and put it into these heavy-duty, bright yellow bio-waste disposal bags. Even wearing the suit and the mask, not only could I still smell it, but I could almost taste it. I swear I would still get the odd whiff of it even after showering. Decided to get a new job on a help desk shortly after. 3 full bags of 2-month-old, semi-solid human shit with my own stomach contents on top is the most disgusting thing I've ever had to clean up. Maybe it'll get me a code, though.
Honestly, very gross descriptors. You really made it sound gross as fuck.
I'm just copy and pasting that last line of his.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
3 full bags of 2-month-old semi-solid human shit with my own stomach contents on top. That
really does... Probably gonna get one. If we're going for grossest, that's definitely probably the top.
I'd say it's a solid entry, but it sounds like it was a semi-solid entry.
If you have queasiness, you probably shouldn't be listening to this part of the episode.
I feel bad. I guess we're going back to the shitty puns. Oh my god. Anyway, next email is from Latino Heat, who says, "Good evening to the SML podcast. The most gross thing I personally had to clean up was at a family gathering at my parents' home. I had my 2-year-old nephew who took off his Pampers and shit up the room, which smelled so bad I used gloves and a mask to diffuse the situation. Right after that, my cousin vomited all over the floor, which had different kinds of mixed smelly vomit. I unfortunately had to clean bad that night. I unfortunately had to clean bad night. That was, for me, guys, horrible. That was worded weird. Thanks so much for this gross opportunity. Haha, thanks to the SML podcast." So, cousin poop/vomit.
Yep. 2-year-old shitting up the room.
Are you glad you suggested this contest?
I mean, I don't really mind. I'm not a queasy person. I feel bad for people that are, though.
Very true. Next email is from Eric Trill, who says, "It would be nice to win Serial Cleaner. The messes in this game don't seem as bad as the times I had to clean up my son's shit. I mean literal shit. This includes the time when my son was a newborn and got a tiny bit of his liquidy shit on my hand as I was changing his diaper from the other shit he had just taken. Apparently he wasn't done at the time, and I didn't know, so I paid the price for it. I think that was a real-life 0-point achievement, or life just fucking with me, which is also possible. It would be nice gaining Xbox achievements instead by hopefully winning this game. If I win, it will make this incident worth it. If not, then shit. On my hand, for nothing. Thanks for the opportunity."
Liquidy shit on hand. That's gross.
The best story I have when it comes to diaper changing was my niece was visiting, and she did her thing. It wasn't anything normal or anything abnormal or crazy or anything like that. So I'm changing her, and then halfway through, she just starts shitting again. Like, not liquidy shit, like just a solid turd. As I had her legs up to like put powder on her, you just saw it coming out, and I'm like, this is happening. This is my life. I'm going to watch my niece just shit onto a diaper right now.
Wow. Yeah, no, I don't have any memorable experiences with that, luckily.
And I don't get to win a code for this game because I'm the fucking host.
Hey, you got a code for the game. Well, actually, Eternal did. Did you even
Eternal
get a
code? I bought it.
Oh, so you got to spend money.
Yeah. For the same
the
shit
devs.
everybody else could win for free. Final email is from Aroto Tomato. I can't wait to see what happens here. Grossest mess I've ever had to clean up. Well, this one time I was driving through town and I saw this new place called What Can You Eat for Only $10? Sounded more like a challenge than a restaurant name, so I had to check it out. I immediately parked the car thinking, $10 all I can eat? Sounds good. I'm sure this food is of great quality. Oh, Sure it was. There were many meat-related food choices. Picked with care from the meat trees. Some flies were landing on it, but that only meant the meat was really good, right? So I build my plate content with care, and by care I mean I took 2 of each type of meat and slapped it in there. I asked the guy on the balcony if it was okay for me to take a second plate. He said sure, with a shit-eating grin on his face. I sat on the table, I ate the food, and then as I was licking the plate afterwards, I felt a knock on heaven's door, the door being my asshole. You have a way with words. You know when you're sweating and your heart is beating like a crazy monkey? That was me. I thought I was having a heart attack at first, but then I felt my stomach screaming from the inside. I ran as fast as I could to the bathroom. Only one toilet was available, and by God, I'll never forget that image. The toilet room looked like an alien had bursted out of a body made of shit. It was everywhere. I looked up and thought, how did it get there? With no time to lose, I had no other choice. This shit baby was coming out, and I had to deliver it no matter the cost. So I grabbed a few napkins, one of those plastic cups, filled it with water, and a speed run began. Nuclear shit room cleaning any % before my bunghole exploded. I swiped and swiped, throwing water like I was playing Castlevania 1, and I had to throw holy water to stunlock Dracula at the end. Eventually, I made enough progress that I could safely place my butt cheeks on the toilet without fear of getting Ebola or something else. Horrific moments, and also the grossest thing I've ever had to clean.
That's gross. Yeah.
So, we have 6 emails and only 3 codes to give away.
I think John Harvey is a definite.
Like, there's 4 of them that I really like here, but we only have 3 codes.
Yeah, I would say there's 4 that I'm kind of into as well.
I think Robert M. and Latino are out of the running.
Really? I was thinking Latino and Eric Trill are out. I like Sausage in the Garden. I just find that funny.
Because I think Dark Mika, John Harvey, Oroto, and Eric are the 4 that stick out to me.
Yeah, Dark Mika, Robert, John, and Oroto, and we agree on 3 of those.
So it looks like those are the 3.
Yep.
When you have a consensus, if each person picks 4 and 3 of them overlap, those are the 3 that got to go. So Dark Mika, John Harvey, and Oroto Tomato, you disgusting, depraved assholes, you're each winning a copy of Serial Cleaner, and hopefully you'll have more fun cleaning in that game than you had to clean in real life.
Sorry, Eric. It wasn't worth it.
I mean, to be fair, that was only a little bit on the hand.
That's true. It wasn't a huge amount.
That wasn't too horrible.
Nah, I think easily John Harvey's was the most disgusting.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad one.
That one was like 100% he had to get a code.
I feel bad for Oroto because he didn't have to clean that.
No, he didn't.
He could have. Technically, you could have just added to it if you wanted to be.
No, but you don't want to sit. No, the thing is, at least from the way I took it, it sounded like it was on the toilet seat, so he would have had to sit on top of it.
Yeah. How many times do girls pee without sitting down? You could hover shit. You could do it.
I mean, yeah, I suppose. Or just do the Spider-Man and cling both hands to the wall and then both your feet to the wall. Just
American Ninja Warrior, the fucking spider wall. Propped up on the sides, just dropping it below.
Yup.
On that note, our guest coming up after the break. I feel so bad that, like, we have an awesome guest on this show, and I just spent the previous 10 minutes talking about poop. So that is it for now. Stick around after the break. We're going to be back, or at least I'll be back, with our good friend Grant Henry hanging around as we talk to Mel Kirk of Zen Studios, talking about Infinite Pinball, talking about Pinball FX3, or Infinite Mini Golf, not Infinite What the hell am I saying? Too much stuff. But yeah, awesome chat. So stick around, enjoy the music, and CJ, any final words?
Hollywood Undead, just announced their new album, and I'm so excited. I already pre-ordered it.
Dude, their first song is like really good.
I
too.
know, it's so fucking good.
It's like straight up metal.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. I was like, holy shit. I'm happy. I'm pretty fucking happy.
So any show related last words?
No, I don't really care about the show.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. I'm joined by two fantastic people right now. First off, we'll get the important one out of the way. Joining us from Zen Studios, Mel Kirk. How are you doing today?
Hey, Joe. I'm doing really, really well. Thank you. Got a lot of energy because it's a super busy time here at Zen. Super excited to talk to you.
Yeah, you've got a lot going on between Infinite Mini Golf. You mentioned some unannounced projects. I know Pinball FX3 is coming out soon, and whenever pinball gets brought up, we have to bring our friend Grant Henry onto the show. Grant, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I just show up when it's time to talk about ball physics, and that is completely okay with me. So, hey guys.
Grant likes ball talk.
All about ball talk.
We do too at Zen. There's a joke that we do a lot of games with balls because it's a little bit true. So
something tells me that joke has come up sometime in the last 10 years.
Just a few times.
Yeah.
I say, do you have like a company motto of like Zen Studios? We've got balls.
Oh yeah, I mean we've joked about that a whole lot, and it's kind of funny because. Of course, no company or game developer wants to be pigeonholed into like just that's what you do. You have good physics, so you can do pinball and maybe you do mini golf. So we try not to like take it too seriously over here. But yeah, there's this undercurrent of like, hey, we're really good at making games with balls.
Yeah, you got to find your niche and go for it. Just pound it out. Just nail those balls all the time. This is getting bad. This is getting really bad. So for the people who don't know what Infinite Mini Golf is, that is your game releasing this week, I guess, from when this episode is coming out. For the people who don't know what it is, give us the sales pitch.
Sure. Infinite Mini Golf is the spiritual successor to a game that we did back in 2010 called Planet Mini Golf, which was like a PSN only title, but broke a lot of new ground back in the day. It was one of the first games on PlayStation Network. It was the first game that we had. There was an open beta. First game that allowed user-generated content. First game that allowed people to take stuff and put it up on YouTube. So it was really cool. And I don't know why we stopped working on it. We just got really distracted with this other ball game, like pinball. And we over the course of time, so 7 years goes by. Actually, I don't know, 5 years because we've been working on it for a couple. And all the players, all the fans just keep asking us, hey, you guys going to do mini golf again? Because there's a lot of mini golf games that come out, but you guys did a really good job your first time around. You gave us a lot of cool features that no one had done before. Love to see what you can do this time around with, adding some more modern things and updating graphics and new gameplay and all that kind of stuff. So really this is a game, we didn't even really have to design this game. It was designed for us by the community, by people giving us suggestions. We just took what we thought was the best and we started putting it together. And we ended up basically giving you all a bunch of tools to make your own content, to share it on any platform, regardless of where you play. So if you're playing on Steam or Xbox and you make a course and you share it, it's going to be played by someone playing on PlayStation 4 and vice versa. There's a lot of there's 8-player multiplayer matchups, which is a ton of fun. There's crazy and wacky power-ups, which help you achieve a higher score, and you're aiming for that world record score. And we do a really good job of highlighting who's winning on which course. And then, of course, back in the Planet Mini Golf days, this is crazy. People made over 80,000 courses, and it was a problem because you couldn't find what you wanted to play. So we created this whole feature so you can filter all the different courses based on 6 or 7 different search criteria and really narrow down what you want to play. So we think we're giving you just this never-ending golf game, and we're already seeing just tons and tons of people making courses. So it's probably going to get out of control. I'm a little worried about our server capacity. I hope we don't crash. If it does happen, we apologize.
80,000 courses on Planet Mini Golf.
Yep.
That is insane. I can't even process that many courses to play.
We were very, very surprised. In fact, even today as we speak, there's new courses being created and added. And of course, we're telling all those people, please stop playing this game and come to Infinite Mini Golf and make your game here. So, that's a PS3 game, still getting tons of play. And of course, now we're coming just to all the new consoles, and it's exciting that we're hitting Switch as well. We managed to, we're going to manage to sim ship, which we were really nervous about, and we kind of delayed Mini Golf. We had announced a spring release, but we really wanted to include Switch. We were also able to make the cross-platform UGC work at the last minute. That was kind of a miracle. A lot of political things go on, behind the scenes with first parties, but we just managed to put it all together, and here we are getting ready to launch next week.
That is awesome. It's really cool to see it hit all the platforms as well.
It's a goal for us. Every time we announce a game and we leave out a platform or something, it's like we're the worst people on the planet. So we try to avoid that now, and we just I think we take the criticism a little too hard, but we want everybody to be able to enjoy the games. So that's just our focus.
Nice. So this was your first Switch experience, or at least released game on Switch, right? And you guys haven't put Zen hasn't come out for Switch or anything yet.
Correct.
Any interesting notes about that console? I mean, you guys are obviously PS4, PlayStation VR now, VR on PC platforms, Steam and PC stuff. So what about any interesting musings about the Switch stuff? I've heard from other people that it's been pretty easy to port to. But what was your experience?
As far as development goes, it's been the best Nintendo experience for our studio to date. We developed on 3DS, Wii U, and I believe we have some titles on the original Wii eShop. But the thing, Wii U, it is funny to note, Zen has the most content on the eShop on Wii U out of any developer or publisher. So we were a huge supporter of it. Primarily, on the pinball side, we just kept releasing our DLCs, and just the library kept growing and growing. And it was a little painful, and I think Nintendo would agree, which is why they changed things quite a bit. And it's much easier, and we're really happy with the changes that they made. And look, a lot of us are making games here because we grew up with Nintendo, and we're just diehard Nintendo gushing fanboys. So we will always
I feel you there. NES was my very first console that was mine. Like, my dad owned a ColecoVision, but the NES, that was mine in ~86. So, oh my God, I'm old.
NES, SNES, Cube, all the way through 64. We have life-defining moments on each of those.
The GameCube was the first console I ever braved Black Friday to get.
Yeah, that's cool. It's really good. When you look at the ecosystem right now, having 3 really healthy consoles and PC just kicking butt, it's like an exciting time to release a game. It's challenging because you don't know where to go first, or the community is so large and so many things to take care of. But I think as a developer, you have the best opportunity now than in the history of games. It's like really, really fantastic.
Yeah, it's an awesome time, and it's awesome to see stuff like the cross-platform course database. And Carnage in our chat was asking if there's any plans for maybe cross-platform play at all.
Yeah, we would support cross-platform play immediately if we could get some of the boundaries changed, up at the higher-ups on first parties. I think, Psionics is probably leading the charge on that, and with Pinball, we would be right behind them. They're ready to go with cross-platform play for Rocket League, and I think there was an article recently saying, hey, we're here ready, we just need Sony to say yes. So, we're in the same position.
That cropped back up when E3 came by in a big way. I think there was also talk about like Minecraft, I guess, was another one it's been kind of a fight to get PS4 included on that list.
Well, but, it seems like Minecraft and Rocket League are both going to have cross-platform with everything but PlayStation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that something Zen might do, where you work with, PC and Xbox and Nintendo, and when PlayStation finally decides to join the party, they could be worked in eventually as well?
Exactly. That's how it would work on the back end side. The problem is that if you go too far down a path and you implement things a certain way, not knowing how PlayStation would like to implement, it could go wrong. So we would prefer to wait until we have thumbs up from everyone, and then we could just do it in a clean sweep. All the stores, the back ends of all these networks are all very different, and so it's not so easy as much as like you get it done here and it's working between, say, PC, Switch, and Xbox One, and then here comes PlayStation 4 and they're ready to go. Who knows if the engineering and all the back end will plug into whatever they have. So it's kind of risky, in my opinion, to get it all ready. And Psionic's got to have some, they have to have some inclination that Sony's going to say yes, I think, for them to have made that investment.
Makes sense. So. Yeah, I'm hoping Sony will get on board as well. It seems like it's such a bummer that, we already mentioned Minecraft and Rocket League. Nintendo Switch is going to play with Xbox, and they're going to play with PC. But Sony is, I don't know if it's like a pride thing where they feel they don't need anyone else, or that they're in first place and it doesn't help them to work with other people. I'm not sure what it is, but I wish everyone could just get together, like play their video games. Let's all play together.
Let's just play some mini golf,
Yeah.
Or pinball.
Did you guys watch the Pinball FX3 announcement trailer?
I did.
Absolutely.
I am so excited for Pinball FX3.
Let us play together. Like, that is honestly, we're trying to it's such a massive community. We're trying to bring people together, and with all of our games, like, that's what it's all about right now. It doesn't matter where you play or where you're playing, which platform, whatever. Like, we want everybody to be able to work together, play together. That's just a perfect situation.
I have a quickie, Joe. Can I just hop in here?
Yeah.
It's not a ball physics question though. So is it allowed?
Grant, you're allowed to ask whatever you want, Grant.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's awesome. So, on the topic of balls, actually, no, you did this mini golf release with early access on PC. Mm-hmm. Was that your first early access experience with?
It was,
Steam?
yes.
Okay, because I didn't think early access was around when Castle Storm came out. But I also noticed that you're not doing an early access model for the FX3 release, though, are you? I haven't seen much about that. I mean, I think you say it's this year or this summer. Actually, I think you said this summer, but you decided not to go the early access route with the FX3. Is there a reason that it just made more sense to do it with mini golf instead?
FX3 is actually in a closed beta right now, mostly with hardcore players from our community on Steam. And we're not going to go to an early access with FX3 because we're pretty honed in, and we feel like the testing that we've been doing is giving us a pretty good indication that we've done the right things for FX3 to be successful. Infinite Mini Golf, we were doing a lot of really new things, and we weren't really sure how it would work. And we need a lot of time to test, especially to test our server infrastructure for content sharing and creation and all this. So we tested on early access, and we got the right amount of people in through that method, and so that was basically the reason why we went that way. We knew we could pull in all the right people we needed to with FX3, like literally within a couple of hours. It took like an hour to fill it up, and then for Infinite Mini Golf, we needed some more time. It was part of more of our marketing plan, so it was just different approaches to establishing the game.
That makes sense. Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say I'm sure that early access and early availability also helps you guys get a nice lineup of courses for the official launch too, right?
Yeah, like right now, if you sign into Infinite Mini Golf, I think there's close to 700 courses, and that's just been purely fostered. And we're also testing the tools because we made a lot of changes from how you create courses from Planet Mini Golf to Infinite, and we were testing those along the way to see what people liked, because that's a really sensitive thing, especially if you're on PC or if you're on a controller. So we've been tinkering with that, and yeah, right now, like I think there's 700, and then as soon as we open up on Tuesday, people can access the game. Hopefully we'll be you'll see that number cranking up every day.
I'm worried to know how many are just going to be straight courses so that people could get the achievement for sharing a course.
Yeah, that's true, right? There will be some of those. I'm sure there will be a lot of things that come across that are completely inappropriate, and we have a team here that's going to be filtering, and they get to see all those things. So
I was going to say, how many dick-shaped courses have you guys had to moderate so far?
Yeah, there's a fair amount. People get very creative, do all sorts of, sometimes this is downright mean, man. Like some of the stuff people do, but like usually it's pretty funny. We're always laughing, and we wish we could, put some of this stuff up. There's always been a joke like, let's just do an M-rated like mini golf game and just let it all fly. There's some really great stuff. Games with balls, right?
So what are some of the good ones? You got to tell us some of the good ones. We're an M-rated show, so you're allowed to tell us the M-rated stuff that you can't tell the other shows.
You can't let people play.
Yeah, well, straight up. Okay, so you have your whole, all the dick courses, right?
Those are standard. Those are just standard at this point.
Yeah, those are pretty standard. People doing, there was a porn course, and it was like you were going through, and it was like every hole was situated so it was a different sexual position, and that was pretty creative.
My goodness,
18 holes of pure infinite mini golf porn, So it was pretty funny. Jolt, we're on hey guys, I'm gonna have Jolt say hello real quick. Jolt's our managing director here at Zen. Jolt, say hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Zolt.
I love your pictures.
We are live streaming and podcasting right now, talking about Infinite Mini Golf and everything else going on here at Zen, and other creative ways that people like to share their different mini golf content, which we have to thoroughly vet and not allow to be seen by the beautiful children.
Zolt, what is the dirtiest course you've seen submitted?
Yeah, let me just say, me love holes. Just in general. So, we have the right to kill, I guess.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, great meeting you. I just wanted to say hello.
Okay.
That's wonderful. Great job.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Jolt is like, he's CEO. He's in charge of everything.
He's the Zen man.
Yep, and he just walked in and walked out. So
I guess you're allowed to do that when you run everything.
Pretty much.
I'm just gonna go in this room, and I don't care what they're doing. I'm showing up. I'm saying hi.
Totally.
So there was a full-on porn course, not just a single hole, but like a string of holes. That sounds even dirtier when I say that.
Yeah, it was 18 holes dedicated to their craft. We'll just put it that way.
Wow.
It was a full narrative. Like that's really that's devoting time to your craft. I'm sorry, it will never see the light of day.
Each hole was named something very specific. Dirty soup. It was pretty rotten.
What the hell is dirty soup? Like, do I need to Google that? Am I going to get in trouble?
I don't think you should.
I'm going to get in trouble for knowing what that is, but I only know what it is because of this course, this whole name. We were Googling stuff. Let's put it that way.
Oh God.
Oh my.
Now I have to Google that. Dirty soup. Carnage is saying, why not 69 holes?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
laziness. They gave up. They weren't that dedicated to the cause, I guess. Oh man. So yeah, nearly 700 courses right now. What do you think that's going to get to in the first week or so of release?
We don't know. Every time we think we have an idea about what we're going to do or what we're going to see, it's wrong. So we just don't guess anymore. But we're like, hey, we need to tweet our milestone. You know, this is funny because back in like 2010, I don't think any of us knew what Twitter was. At least we weren't using it for games really. But now we're like, how frequently should we tweet? Like, what should we tweet? 1,000 courses or 10,000 or whatever. And we just say, let's just, see what happens, and we'll be excited with whatever.
Yeah, at this rate, I mean, you may very well hit that 1K at release if there's already 700 up. So that would be good timing.
Apparently, we have some pretty powerful Twitchers and YouTubers who are playing the game right now and saying they're going to post and that they're creating courses, and they're excited because whatever they share will be visible across potentially millions of people. So on every different platform.
I played a bit of it, and I've been saying to myself, it's the Trackmania of mini golf. I don't know if you know what Trackmania is, but it's basically but in racing form. It's a game built around the idea of community created tracks and being able to play them quickly multiplayer. Yep. And so it keeps you playing for ever. In the case of Trackmania. So.
We just said, we want to make a mini golf game, and hopefully we don't have to make another one for like a really, really long time. So how do we make it just unending? And really, we're always basing our games on value. And how do you probably see that with our pinball games, the way we just bring content from generation to generation. But with mini golf, theoretically, the value is going to grow every day as there's new content and new reasons for you to come back to the game. We're also going to we have new expansions that are planned. We're toying with the idea. We're probably going to make them free, just give them away. And we have kind of in the way we've done really well with different brands on pinball. We already have brands approaching us. They want us just to create tool sets and themes to let people make, games based on their brand. So we could always go in that direction too.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you guys, that's a big part of everything you've done with the pinball in the last 10 years. And I imagine that obviously you have to be able to make the sales have to make up for the fact that you're licensing properties. In the case of pinball, I mean, you're able to do that because Pinball Effects is pretty popular. But I mean, I was just kind of wondering what it'd be like to you've already got such a relationship going with Disney and with other properties as well, other game properties. It's like, what about Portal Mini Golf? What about Marvel Mini Golf? Like it's actually kind of It's pretty interesting. At least it's cool to know that there could be some opportunity there since you guys already do what you do.
There absolutely is opportunity there, and it's exciting to see the trust from our partners and their willingness to continue working with us on looking at new projects. And it's not just the pinball thing, but we kind of kept mini golf. We haven't talked about it to our partners, or we didn't bring it up. They came to us, so it's cool. Like they're watching what we're doing. They see the potential. They know that we're a good partner, and they trust us.
That's great. I mean, I would shoot the windmill shot with Darth Vader. I mean, I'm just saying.
That could be cool. It could be really, really cool.
Something for later.
Now, would there be any kind of conflicts when you have licensed properties mixing with user-created content? Because I don't know if Disney would be too happy with Darth Vader being involved in Dirty Soup. Because I looked up Dirty Soup, and wow.
That's the biggest. That is probably one of the biggest challenges and hurdles with licensing content in video games. One is user-generated content, and two is if you have advertising-based gameplay, which is more on the mobile side of things, but creeping its way into PC and creeping into console even. But those two things are the challenges with licenses.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Are there any licenses that you've approached and they're still not sold on being part of pinball or being part of mini golf?
No. I haven't heard no since 2011.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 2012, which is really cool. If we're talking about licenses, there's a little discussion on FX3 is that we've announced that the majority of the content is coming from FX2 and Zen Pinball to FX3. There's a handful of licensed tables that cannot come over because we have run into some business conflicts and licensing conflicts. But it's a very, very small amount, and so it's just really cool to see that all of our big deals they renew with us. Once the term expires, they're like, hey, let's sign up again. What's the plan for new content? How do we keep working together? I think that's the ultimate stamp of approval, and it's great. We used to have to go out and kind of sell our soul to get a license deal done, but those times have changed.
Are you able to discuss which tables can't make the jump, or is that like NDA blocked, stuff like that?
Yeah, right now I cannot tell you, but we're anticipating sharing all the details about the table roster, about how importing will work and backwards compatibility. We'll be able to talk about all that hopefully in mid-August. And if we can lock in our launch, that's also the time when I think we'll be able to tell you what our launch date is. And so we want to kind of do that all at once so everyone can kind of get ready and start prepping. So that's what our plan of attack is. So I would say mid-August we'll be sharing all that information.
So I'm guessing release is looking to be somewhere late August, sometime in September, maybe.
Well,
fingers crossed.
That would be fantastic timing for us. I think we'll see what we can hit.
Barring delays, clearly.
Yeah, actually, where we are now, the game is really done. I mean, the features are done. Everything is awesome. We're just doing some final bug fixing. The challenge that we have is that the back end setup on these stores is so complicated because we have entitlements dating back to like Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Somebody potentially could have bought something on Xbox 360 in 2010, and they're going to bring that game with them into Pinball FX3 on Xbox One in 2017.
Oh man, that's great. I give you guys and Harmonix have seemed to be the two big ones who are dead set on letting customers keep content that they paid for instead of, it's a new game, buy it again, fuckers.
Yeah, well, it's like I mentioned this earlier. It's a core principle or mission statement. I don't know, one of those weird corporate things that we just have written up here at Zen that we want to treat players the way that we want to be treated, and we can't do this with every game, but like with pinball, it makes a ton of sense because it's like a collection that you've invested in, and you want to keep it together, and we want to keep the community together. So we just think this is the right approach to treat people who have invested in this game. So some people call us crazy and insane, but we just feel like this is the right approach, and we have to do it. So we thank Sony and Microsoft and everybody for like lending us all their engineering overhead, and we work right alongside them to engineer these fantastic solutions to make this possible. But this is what it takes, and so hopefully we can wrap all this stuff up and get it all done in time for like end of summer type of release. That would be fantastic.
I have a quick question. I love the way two things that you framed in your original press release and blog about the game is first you did mention about you talked about the fact that some licensed tables can't make it outright, which I think is really important, and I'm glad you guys did that. The other part is that I'm a big pinball guy. I own a machine myself. I used to own several, and I own all the FX2 tables. And I think you've created solely a single player experience until now, and you're opening this up into a more community focused experience. And then you talked specifically about the idea of education, because a lot of people who don't play pinball just think it really is slapping a ball around, just shoot what's flashing, and that's it. But your guys' tables are pretty deep. You've talked about the idea of trying to help people understand a little more about how to play the games. And I know you probably can't talk feature set, a lot of that stuff's going to come out a little bit later, but can you talk a little bit about what the idea was behind the educational component of this? Like what is, let's just say I'm interested in getting in encouraging someone to learn a bit more about a table so we can play together. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is there anything you can say about how that could potentially work, or what it looks like, or what you were thinking?
Yeah. Well, look, one of our main goals is to make pinball a community experience. Right now, in its current form, we see it's you, your TV, and your console. And we want that base of players who are competitive and who can play at a higher level to grow. And we received so much feedback from casual type of players who said, I really like this game. It's cool. I just don't know what to do. And I reach a score and then I can never get past that. Can you help me? Like, where do I go to learn how to play? And we looked at some data, and we realized that on Iron Man, like a 0.5% of people, 99.5% of people never saw Ultimo come up out of the center of the table, which is the coolest moment in the whole entire game. And we just looked at ourselves and said, we wasted all that effort and nobody saw it. And we need to figure out how to have it, design the table so it opens up so that there's cool moments along the way and new things to discover. But we just need more people to experience the cool moments, because that's what's going to hook them, and that's also going to make the game just more enjoyable. And so we really took a step and a look at how do we really just do some basic pinball 101, and how do we train and teach people and let them understand why this game is fantastic and why it's been around for nearly 100 years in some shape or form. And so this is our first attempt. I think it's pretty good. And we have other tools that we're going to release along the way and various updates to help grow pinball knowledge, to help grow pinball skill, and allow people to feel better about about why they should participate in a tournament or in a league, because they actually have a chance. So these are all big long-term goals and objectives that we've been thinking about, and for the first time, they're going to come to life here in Pinball FX 3.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah. Joe and I both dig the effects stuff. We both we've fussed plenty about the outlanes in Doom, and have mused about every release you guys have put out, and Pinball Arcade as well. We dig the virtual pin stuff. So
and what they do is super important. I always, if I ever can, I say, check out Pinball Arcade stuff and what they're doing with Stern now. For the whole game to remain healthy and alive and active, I think we all do different things, but at the end of the day, we all need each other to do well.
That was their attitude. I mean, we've talked. I guess Joe, I think that might have been the first time I hopped on More Frequency, is getting those guys on and talking to them, and they said the exact same thing about you guys. Well, I mean, except for they were like, that Mel Kirk guy is kind of a jerk, but the rest of the effects team, it's fantastic.
Grant, why are you trying to start shit? What's going on?
I don't know. I'm here now. No, they said the same thing. They're like, we do different things. I mean, you guys are into the fantasy pinball, and they go for their simulations, and both need to exist for people to have an understanding of that kind of game.
And it's a perfect complement where you handle one side of the pinball spectrum and they handle the other. I'm just curious, because I've asked the team at Pinball Arcade before and at Farsight, have you guys ever talked about maybe collaborating?
No, we have not talked about collaborating. I think there's been a few times where we had some social media crossover and overlap, and one time we met at California Extreme in the Bay Area, and we took some pictures together, but that's really been the extent of it.
Had a knife fight outside of E3.
We're throwing pinballs at each other. I had a slingshot, and they had a marshmallow gun, and they were
oh my God, that would hurt so much. Holy God.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. You guys aren't going to be representing at Cal Extreme this year, are you? It's a week away, and you guys have games to put out, so I imagine not.
No, we're not really doing any events right now, just because we somehow magically we had not a lot going on, and then all of a sudden everything is going on. So it's just a huge runway, and airplanes are taking off. It seems like every week right now.
How much do you have going on at Zen? Because we know about Infinite Mini Golf, we know about Pinball FX 3. What else is going on there?
Okay, so Infinite Mini Golf launches next week. Castle Storm on PlayStation VR is on August 1st.
Oh, wow.
Pinball
I didn't even know that was coming.
Yeah, we announced that sometime just 2 weeks ago. So Castle Storm is coming to PSVR, and then probably the next release will be FX3, and then we have brand new day one pack shipping with FX3 based on a brand new relationship and a brand that we've never worked with before.
Ooh, any hints?
No, I cannot give you any hints. It's one of those that I cannot even hint at, because you'll know what it is exactly as soon as I hint it.
Interesting. Now I'm excited.
It's big. It's exciting. I can't even believe we're doing it. So, let's see. Then we have another original pinball pack And if you watched our announcement trailer for FX3, we actually showed those 2 tables, which we did very much on purpose because our core players love our original stuff more than our licensed. So we just wanted to tease out 2 new tables, and those you can see what they look like. And then we're publishing another game from another developer, and then we'll have another, hopefully, pinball release before the end of 2017 based on another thing that I can't believe we're doing. So total that up, that's 7 major releases.
Man, y'all are busy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of questions from the chat that I want to take care of real quick. You mentioned Castle Storm VR. No Pulse hanging out in our chat is a Vive owner. Is that something we could see on the Vive as well, or is that stay in PSVR?
No, I think it could come to Vive. We're just resource bands, like bandwidth right now is just a problem. We do plan to get that to Vive, and I think it'll make it at some point, hopefully soon. The challenge that we have is, I don't know if we should go into this. It was like, okay, we already released Castle Storm. We started working on the Castle Storm VR, and it's, do we release it as an add-on or just give it to people who already bought it, or does it need to be a standalone game? It got too complicated. It costs too much. We have to do a standalone game. So this is one of those bridges that we're going to have to cross when we go to Steam. Anyway, that's a long answer.
Oh yeah, I know VR development isn't cheap to begin with, so I could totally understand why it's a completely separate item instead of just being a free update or something. Carnage made mention, he's saying properties that you've never worked with before. I don't know if he's jokingly or seriously asking Halo, which made me wonder, have you guys looked into doing any kind of possible platform exclusive tables, like maybe a Mario table for like Wii U or Switch if it ever happens, fingers crossed? Halo on Xbox, maybe God of War or something on PlayStation. Is that something you've considered?
These are all awesome properties that we could make incredible pinball tables on, but we would never do it unless we could bring them to everybody wherever we release pinball games. Mm-hmm. The outcry that we would receive if we did Halo pinball and it was only on Microsoft platforms, everybody would be, well, except for Xbox players, would be upset at us. And it's just not part of our approach anymore. Maybe back in the day when things were more difficult for us to do, but moving forward, it's just stuff that we can put out to everybody.
Yeah, I remember in the PS3 360 days, there were certain tables you could only get on one platform and certain on the other, and it seemed like with Pinball FX2, everything just kind of merged together, which I was happy about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also why we're, Zen Pinball 2 on PlayStation is becoming Pinball FX3. We're unifying the brand on consoles and PC. It's been a communication nightmare, for people wondering, well, wait, what is the game called? Why is it this on here and there on that? But, on mobile, Zen Pinball is going to remain our brand. That's going to kind of become the free-to-play platform and the, free model. Console and PC, we're moving to Pinball FX3. It's just way easier to understand, I think.
Makes sense. Very much makes sense. And then, I briefly mentioned it, but our friend George was asking, what are the odds of FX3 coming to the Switch?
I would say that Zen Studios was the biggest supporter of Nintendo Wii U last generation, and we are diehard Nintendo fans, and our support for Nintendo will not change.
So that's a soft confirmation, I guess. That's as unofficial as an official as it sounds. Hypothetically, if it were to happen, what would the DLC situation work with between the Wii U and the Switch? Clearly hypothetical since the game doesn't exist yet.
It would be, I believe that would present a big challenge. So a big challenge with Switch, probably the biggest challenge for Zen, is that licensors have not figured out their strategy on Switch yet. And when you sign license deals for, like the case of Zen, you have a list of approved platforms which you can release content on. And so Nintendo Switch being brand new and some of our deals being dated, there's certain brands that just don't know how they want their brand represented on Switch yet. So we're at there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of different things we have to sort out and figure out before we can confirm a game for Switch.
It's that age-old saying, licensing is hard.
It is. It's very difficult. There's some features on Switch which we absolutely have to support, like the rumble. That's like a must. So there's time we have to be able to figure that out, get that right. I don't know. Are there any games is Switch allowing games to be played vertically?
Yes, some of the Arcade Archive Neo Geo games have support for turning it vertical, which I know George mentioned it would be perfect to have a pinball table played vertically.
Yeah. So
that's how I play my FX stuff. I have a second monitor I code on and use it for my effects tables and pull the DMD out and put it underneath it, and it's I agree, that would be perfect on Switch.
Yeah. So FX3 has been in development for 2 years, probably actually longer than that. It's just going to take time to catch up on a new device, a new platform, new business terms, new everything. So we're going to have to work through all this stuff.
So it seems like licensing needs to be worked on, but it's something that's clearly not out of the question.
That's a fair statement.
Gotta dance between the lines there and find the best way to say it without saying the wrong thing, I guess.
Zen Studios was the biggest supporter of Nintendo Wii U.
It's a pretty good badge, I'd say. I had no reason to research that at all. Who was kind of the biggest there, but you guys have done well.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I think the theme, maybe one of our talks, is that Zen Studios is a big supporter of Nintendo.
Well, at least someone is. It's good to see someone who hasn't given up on Nintendo. I know after the Wii U, a lot of people were like, I think we're done with Nintendo, and it's good to see companies that still believe that there's a lot of value in the platform.
I don't know, look at Shovel Knight. It was timing was everything. They had a great game, just very targeted, right at Wii U players, and did fantastic, just phenomenal.
Yeah. And
totally.
It worked well, and it came to everything else, and now it's one of the biggest indies out there.
Yep. Yeah, games. Those guys are great.
I've got an odd one. I don't know how often you guys are doing tweaks in the background to things like physics in your tables, but I was just wondering if we should expect any sort of change to physics or noticeable gameplay differences with the FX3 platform.
Physics are always kind of being fine-tuned and tweaked. So yeah, you may notice a little bit, but I mean, we've been working on pinball physics for 13 years now, in games on the market for 10. So it's, I like to think that we've almost perfected it, but there are subtle changes. The bigger changes you notice, the tables themselves are, we've added dynamic lighting and obviously some graphic updates and things like that. So they're going to look and they're going to glow in whole new ways. They do look brand new. They play brand new. We're giving so many new ways to play this table that you've already played. It's going to feel brand new. It really will.
That's great.
What are some of the new ways to play?
For example, let's see. There's just take single player mode for an example. We're going to have challenges that are constantly refreshed every day. It might be, here's just a single ball, high score, or a 5-minute best score, or it's only multi-ball until you drain your ball. So it's just different challenges. As you accomplish goals within these challenges, your pinball XP is gonna, grow. You're gonna grow into a pinball wizard is the goal. And so it's just constantly, not just any longer playing a game of pinball where you have 3 balls and that's it. There's just tons of different ways to play.
So just more reasons for people to come back and play every day instead of playing a table twice and then I saw everything that has.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we announced that there's multiplayer matchups. This is fantastic. If you play Bethesda Pinball right now on mobile, iOS or Google Play, check it out. It's free download. You can play a table for free as much as you want, whatever. Check out the multiplayer matchup system in that game. And that was actually, believe it or not, the basis for what we're doing on consoles, which is, to us, we learned some fantastic lessons there on how to test features. and see what happens. So it's a very, very successful for us on mobile with this matchup system on Bethesda Pinball. And thank you very much, Bethesda, for letting us experiment with this. And we know it works. It's just fantastic.
I thought the Bethesda pack was one of the best packs to come out recently. It was a really, really solid pack of tables.
Yeah, Doom continues to be my favorite table for the time being, and it's just so metal and it's like so much energy, and I think the guys knocked it out on that. Well, it's hard to pick and choose, but that one's really cool.
When you work with other companies such as Bethesda, are there ever times where you inquire about maybe using a certain game license and they're like, no, maybe not that one? I was curious if we'd ever see a Brink table from Bethesda.
Yeah, it's always very clearly defined at the contract stage what it is we're doing. So we have, how do I say this? There's certain deals that we have here where we have access to more brands than what we've released. And the plan is, we have a roadmap, and the plan is to, hey, we're going to do these ones first, and then we're going to let some time go by, see what the reaction is, and then if it makes sense, we'll do these next ones. But it's always very specified as to what the 12-month, 24, 36-month plan is.
Gotcha. So I shouldn't get my hopes up for Brink pinball.
It's a really funny story. I actually have some history with Brink. Back in my former old days, I pitched Pete Hines on a program for Brink marketing. We wanted to do a canned food drive at GameStops across America, and the end of the world was coming, and gamers needed to band together to help, and we were going to make it a charitable cause. It's pretty funny. He really liked the idea, but obviously didn't do it. So that was my first interaction with Bethesda, and that was just they're amazing. Pete, I look up to him as one of the most amazing guys in our industry. Just to see what he and the team have built there over 20 years now. It's the slow, organic, smart move, one step at a time. It's almost what I kind of feel like hopefully Zen is being patterned after.
Nice. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm excited. You guys are constantly bringing out awesome tables. I know you mentioned the FX3 is in closed beta now. I'm curious, Grant, you're such a huge pinball fanatic and you own all the tables. How didn't you get into the beta?
I didn't realize that the closed beta was happening with the original article I read. I think I found it on either the PlayStation blog or the Zen blog about 3 hours too late, I imagine, if it filled up in an hour.
We only put the closed beta announcement up, I believe, on our forum.
I found the forum post. I think that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was. I found the forum post or someone had linked to it, and then I was like, oh, here we go. Oh, well, never mind.
If you want in, hey, seriously, Grant, if you want in, we put you in.
Well, I would be a power user. I do own every table except, I have Walking Dead on mobile. I didn't buy it on PC. It's the only one I'm missing. But yeah,
it looks like you have to change that, Grant.
Shot. I know.
Get my email from Joe, and just send me a line, and we'll get you plugged in.
That's great. I'll give it I'll crack my knuckles and give it a run.
Cool.
Good stuff. Well, Grant, do you have any more questions? I think I'm personally tapped out on questions right now. I know you're the big pinhead, so.
Well, it's really exciting to see that everything that you've built in your pinball world is now going to be able to be played in multiplayer fashion, and I think that's something that's incredible. My hope, not a question, but my hope for later is that perhaps if this crossplay thing that we talked about earlier does get figured out, I'll be able to play one of my best friends who owns all the FX tables on his PS4 on my PC, ideally in the future. But it's obviously baby steps with that kind of tech and those kinds of agreements. But it sounds like you guys are fighting that fight as well. So
if enough developers ask for it, and if enough players make us think about it, I believe it can totally happen.
I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how long it takes to get there. It's really cool to see what you guys are doing, and I'm super stoked. I got no more ball physics related inquiries at this time. Thank you.
Well, we've exhausted all the ball talk then. Awesome.
So, aside from mini golf and pinball, what other ball stuff do you enjoy in life?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a huge baseball fan, mostly because of statistics and numbers, but there happens to be a ball involved there, right?
Yeah.
And then actually next year we're going to publish a game from another developer, again, that has it's a ball-related game.
Wow.
And I'm actually really, really excited about it. I've been bugging to publish their game for a long, long time, and we got the deal done, and we're working on it right now, and it's going to be fun.
That's really interesting.
Is it new with you guys publishing games from other developers? Have you done that before with anything else?
It's totally brand new. It just sort of happened because right now a lot of guys, they'll have a successful PC game and they know that they want their game to come to console, but it's kind of like, foreign to them. It'd be like me living in California and saying I want to buy a property in France, like where do you start? What do who do you talk to? So usually what's been happening is PC developer goes, they find a porting house, they pay for the port, they get the game back, then they're looking for a publisher, and then they have to sign up, hopefully negotiate a deal with the publisher, and then finally the game can come, and after all that, they've spent money and a lot of time has gone by. We found here at Zen, we're set up to just take the game, port it here, and then publish. We have all the means to do just be a one-stop shop. So we signed a couple of titles, and we're about to sign a few more, and I don't know, we'll see where this takes us.
It's really cool to see you guys branching out into publishing with other developers. It's cool to see someone that started off as an indie developer helping other indies get their games out there. And then Carnage in chat is saying, is it a game similar to Marble Blast Ultra? Please, please. So it looks like Carnage wants more balls too.
Okay. Yeah, we could be the leading developer and publisher of games with balls. I think we are. But we'll see where it takes us. This other game, I think we'll be talking about it before the end of the year. So once you see the announcement, you'll know exactly what I was talking about.
I feel like there's sort of this consistent aesthetic with a lot of the stuff that Zen puts out. It's not really cartoony, but there's sort of this colorful, vibrant, and also polished. I mean, potentially easier to handle between platforms too, but there's just sort of this look about a lot of the Zen properties that seem consistent. Even the same with Infinite Mini Golf, obviously Castle Storm as well. These other games kind of fit the that kind of mold that you guys have created aesthetically, or do you think we'll be surprised with what we see?
I think one of them does, and I think the other ones will be surprised. Like they don't look like Zen games. You probably would never think that Zen would develop this game, but on the publishing end of things, it opens up a little more for us. You mentioned, Infinite Mini Golf, the lead artist Norby, he was the lead on Castle Storm as well. So there's that consistency. But being in Budapest, I think there's a very distinct type of art style that is resonant here. We have some of the best artists in the entire country working with us and working, here in the studio. So I think art is definitely something that stands out. It's really cool to hear you say that you recognize the style that we've put together. And we do try to keep it a bit consistent. So, and that level of polish is always required. It's never like the 8-bit or 16-bit. We are kind of that very polished indie plus kind of developer, I think.
Yeah, even just things like just the way that there is a level of polish in your games that I feel like doesn't always carry through to other indies where I can just take the corner of the window in Zen and drag it wherever I want, and everything is going to snap where it needs to. I don't have to worry about screwing with resolutions and stuff like that. And between that and the fact that things have run well on my semi-ancient graphics card for years, and it helps as well. But I imagine it also helps with the porting process. I mean, you guys have to hit kind of a level that can work to allow everyone on different platforms to have the same experience. So it makes sense, but you figured out how to do that in an artistic way, not one that just feels low poly or like you're cutting corners. So
it's taken a lot of time to get here, but what's exciting is Internally, we have 5 teams now simultaneously working on content. Each of these teams have shipped finished games. Their level of maturity and expertise and experience have grown over the years. I feel like we're on the verge of making a game that's truly our opus, like in a creative way and in a way that reaches, like, I don't know, the masses or whatever. So really excited to see what happens for us over the next couple of years. I think we have games that are coming that, you know, will really elevate us. I just can't wait to see what happens. Hopefully I'm correct.
That's great.
I'm sure you are. I don't think Zen has put out one bad game yet. And nearly, you know, every game of yours that I've played, I've really enjoyed.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for saying that. I mean, you know, review-wise, yeah, like, you know, our Metacritic scores, whether or not that means anything anymore, have been going up year after year. But really what matters now is that we create experiences for players that build a community, and hopefully people like to watch, because that's apparently very important. So,
I know we've talked about nearly everything that you guys have put out. The one game we haven't touched upon, and I'm curious if we might see a return of this game, Kickbeat. Has there been talk of maybe a second Kickbeat being worked on or in planning?
No, there's. I don't think we have a future for Kickbeat. It was a very experimental game. It actually did fairly well for us, but I think we just moved on, and we have other things that we'd rather focus on.
I hear you.
Yep.
Bummer, because I'm a rhythm game fan, so I really enjoyed that one.
Yes. Well, when we talk again another day, because I would tell you a very long story about some very big rhythm games that I happen to be involved in. So.
Well, that sounds like plans for another episode sometime. So I know we've been chatting for close to an hour now. I don't want to take up all your day. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I always like to leave these, these podcasts or discussions just simply saying thank you to players and community, whoever supports us. Zen has been developing and publishing our own games now for 10 years. Not a lot of video game developers stick around that long, and it's, of course we try to make good games, but thank you all for your support, and we honestly truly appreciate it. We always try to listen to your feedback and implement your ideas into what we do in the future. So if you want to follow the conversation, we're on Twitter, Facebook, follow our Zen blog, whatever. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Well, Mel, thank you so much for coming on the show. Grant, thanks for hanging out as well. Mel, do you have any final words to wrap this up?
No, I don't know. Check out Infinite Mini Golf next week, or Castle Storm VR the week after, or Pinball Effects whenever it comes out, and anything else. We have a lot coming. Hopefully you'll enjoy playing it. Thank you.
I just show up when it's time to talk about ball physics.